Hey, this is Kevin Kelly, and you are listening to the Stardom Cast.
Welcome to the Stardom Cast, your weekly audio source of all things World Wonder Ring Stardom. I'm your host, Rob Good, and I am joined, as ever, by my co-host, Matt Turner. Matt Turner, what a day to be alive, my friend. What a day.
Absolutely. Rob Goodwin, friends and family of the Stardom Cast Army. I got one question for you. Are you ready? Yeah. Wish me happy, go sunshine. H-A-N-A-N, Hannon. Are you ready? Wish me happy, go sunshine. Yeah. I did a little remix for you, buddy. So
you really
what a great
did.
day to be. Yeah, look at I literally practiced all day today. I hope you are still listening 30 seconds in, folks. If you're not like, the heck with this. This is the way they're gonna carry on for 2 hours. I'm out. But no, it's me and you have had a day, and the day's not even over yet. But hey, at least we're here. We're here to talk about 3 fantastic Stardom shows, a whole bunch of news that literally dropped 2 hours after we recorded last week. But no, brother, I'm fantastic. Other than you being absolutely crazy with work stuff, how's everything on your end, good sir?
Yeah, not too bad. As Matt sort of sang, are we going with sang? I mean,
thank you. That's a compliment. Appreciate you.
Why sing in one key when you can sing in them all, my friend? Yeah, for the first time ever, I've actually got a prediction right. I think this is the first time I've ever predicted a tournament right. I think back in 2020, I think I guessed that Giulia might win this 2020 Cinderella, but I think also everybody knew Giulia was going to win the 2020 Cinderella. Yeah, obviously, Hannon is your 2024 Cinderella Tournament winner. Very, very well deserved. A really good tournament as well, actually. A few eyebrows raised with a couple of the people going through, but we're going to get into all of that because I personally loved the way the tournament panned out, loved the way the brackets panned out, and of course, we have our challenger for the white belt, which we knew was coming, we predicted was coming later this year, and lo and behold, it has come true. We are under 2 weeks away from Philly Mania, which in itself is quite scary how quick this year is going already. We're going to be in April soon, which is ridiculous. But apart from that, Matt Turner, how are you?
I'm good. I am excited because I got a hot date tomorrow. I'm going to dinner and going to go see the new Ghostbusters movie. So I'm excited for that. I love going to the movies, and this new Ghostbusters movie looks fantastic. In case those are wondering, my date is with my wife. In case like, what is Matt doing? But no, I mean, geez, there's so much stuff going on with the podcast. After we do the alternate commentary, which we're probably gonna have to push back to Friday or Saturday. We'll talk off air. I will have done 5 podcasts this week alone, and I think I have 3 or 4 to do next week. So busy person I am, but blessed and just love pumping out all the fantastic content we are doing on the Stardom Cast. So yeah, all good things. We're always super busy, both me and you. And not only that, folks, I'm also great because I purchased my copy of Chasing the Dream, 50 Stardom's Greatest Matches by my good friend Rob Goodwin. And not only did I purchase it, but holy geez, I don't think I can open up any of my apps, whether it be Facebook, whether it be Twitter, or whether it be Instagram, without somebody sending me a picture that they got the book. I got a message maybe about 2 hours ago from one of our listeners over in Italy. My home country, where my ancestors are from, saying that they just got the book and they look absolutely gorgeous. So Yeah, man. I mean, obviously you see the sales, I don't, and I'm sure you can. I'm sure you're doing very well with it because it really seems there is some excellent. But I know you're a very modest person, but to me, at least on my half over here, it seems like there's some phenomenal buzz going on with your new book, which just dropped less than a week ago.
It did. Thank you for that. I'm always really shy when it comes to stuff like this. But yeah,
However, not to cut you off. However, after I told him a zillion times to plug his first book, he didn't at all until we got on Talk is Jericho. And I was like, all right, my man.
I forgot I'd done that. Yeah, so it dropped a week last Saturday. And yeah, the response has been great. So thank you to everyone that has already purchased it. I can't thank you enough. I've had some really nice feedback, which is always lovely. If you haven't purchased it yet, you can get it from all Amazon providers. I know there was an issue with everything that wasn't the US Amazon. For some reason, it took a little bit longer to upload to that, but it is there now, and you can get it wherever you get or whatever Amazon you use, whatever country you're in. So thank you to everyone that's taken the time to post a picture or tell me that they've purchased the book. It's very humbling that even one person reads what I think about Stardom. So yeah, really enjoyed writing the book, and this is it's nice to interact with you all. So thank you very, very much. Before we get into what is sure to be a ridiculously stacked episode, obviously we are coming into the end of Cinderella season, and obviously that means that we are coming up to Philly Mania. More has been announced with that. We have a partnership to discuss, which, as per usual, dropped about 2 hours after we recorded last week, because that's what happens. We've got another wrestler that is signed full-time with Stardom, at least for this year anyway. We've got some announcements from the Wrestling Observer Radio in regards to Rossy Vice Wrestling, and of course we are going to talk about the 3 nights of the Cinderella, including the final goodbye of Giulia and Tam, Maika defending the red belt against Utami Hayashishita, and of course Hanan being the 2024 Cinderella, stopping Mirai's three-peat, should I say, in the process. But before we get into all of that, Matt Turner, what on earth is coming up on the Patreon?
On the Patreon this past week, we released our alternate commentary of Momo Watanabe defending the Wonder of Stardom Championship against one Utami Hayashishita from 2019, the last time Stardom ran a show in the United States in New York. The city's so nice, they named it twice. And our alternate commentary, speaking of naming it twice because it was so nice, our alternate commentary next week will be Momo Watanabe versus Utami Hayashishita once again, but this is from when Utami Hayashishita was the World of Stardom champion, and she was defending, I believe it was her first defense, was against Momo Watanabe. Do I have that correct, Mr. Goodwin?
It was indeed, just after she dethroned Mayu in November.
Yeah, so there we go. And I had an absolute blast calling that match from New York back with this past week. And I haven't seen the Momo versus Utami match in probably about a year and a half. So I'm looking forward to watching that and calling that one back with you. Also, this Saturday, for that $10 bonus tier, the Rossy Vice tier, you will get a show review of Stardom Shining Destiny 2019, which will be myself, and I'm joined by the one and only my good friend and my tag partner, one Andy Header, as we review that show. Now, Rob, I've never seen the show in its entirety before. Obviously, I've seen the main event probably about a dozen times. It's Tam Nakano, challenging Arisa Hoshinki for the Wonder of Stardom Championship, and arguably Arisa's best match she's ever had in Stardom. I know that we hold that match in high regard. And I've seen the co-main event a time or two, which it was Hazuki and Tora challenging Utami Hayashishita and Momo Watanabe. Boy, a lot of Utami and Momo on the Patreon this week. And yeah, it's just amazing how that wrinkled out, challenging them for the Goddess of Stardom Championship. But there's also a really good match. It's match number 3. It was Azumi and B. Priestley against the MK sisters of Mayu Iwatani and Starlight Kid. And the graphic came up, I'm like, well, this has got to be good. And it was fantastic. So it was nice going back, watching that show with Andy. And Andy did a great job with notes and covering everything that he covered. And Andy's only seen really current day Stardom. Anything older Stardom, a few years older. The only thing he's seen is stuff from Io and Kyrie. So it was nice having him watch those matches. Obviously, he's familiar with Tam in 2023 and 2024, not Tam in 2019. So it was really cool for him to go back and see Tam as she's really progressing through her career. And if you know Andy, he's a big fan of hairstyles and professional wrestling gear. And I'd even ask him to do this. So what he does after each match, not only does he give his star rating, but he gives what person in the match had the best hair and what person in the match had the best gear, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. So, yeah, it was a really fun. I told, we were going to have dinner in a little bit, me and my wife. I said, this should be done in like 40, 45 minutes. And it was like an hour and 20 minutes. It was just a really fun episode with him. So that's what we have coming up on the Patreon and coming up as well. And again, we're getting towards the end of the month. So I know that I originally scheduled a What If episode with Allison Danger, which was going to be what if me and her booked Naomi Toyota into current day Stardom. To say that Allison right now is insanely busy would be an understatement. I'm not even going to bother her. So I'm going to, and hopefully in the next 2 or 3 weeks, we can explain why she's so busy. Allison, if you're listening to this, we know where you're at. Best of luck. We know that you will absolutely hit a home run, and we got nothing but love for you. So Allison's got something big going on, and fingers crossed that she gets what she has absolutely earned. So, and again, we'll cover that hopefully in the upcoming weeks when we find out more information. So what I did is there will not be a what if for this month. There'll be 2 roundtable discussions that'll be dropped by the end of the month. One of the roundtable discussions will be myself and Trent Brewer. We're going to be going through each and every one of Jungle Kiona's challenges for the Wonder of Stardom and the World of Stardom championship. So her matches against Momo, her matches against Mayu. I didn't know she challenged Yoko Beetle for the Wonder of Stardom championship until I did a little. I pulled a little U, buddy. Pulled a little U. I did some deep dive on some research. So we're going to go through every single one of Jungle Kiona's challenges for the red and white belt. And the other roundtable discussion, I had to tag in my tag partner, Andy Header, once again. We are going to be doing, it's WrestleMania season. I know it's not Stardom related, but it is WrestleMania season. We're going to be counting down our personal top 10 favorite WrestleMania matches. So all that content will be up on your Patreon feed. Fingers crossed by the end of the month, because this week and next week is just absolutely loaded as we get into the Easter season. And then the next week is WrestleMania. So that's going to be a bit as busy as well. So as we end March coming up here next week, we may as well let the good folks know what we're doing for alternate commentary for the month of April. Now, as per usual, at least he's consistent. My good friend Rob Goodwin did not prepare his 2 matches. So, and I knew that he wouldn't. So I'm going a little Memphis. I'm going to do a little stalling. So we have 4 matches that we're going to pick. I'm going to pick my 2 matches to give Rob an opportunity to think about what matches in Stardom he would like to do alternate commentary for. And brother, I'm going to make this easy. Any match you want that we haven't done before, you can do. So Mina Shirakawa is very big into the news as of late, and it's coming up upon the 1-year anniversary of what a lot of people think is her greatest match. So we're going to go to the greatest Stardom show of all time, arguably the greatest wrestling show of all time, All-Star Grand Queendom, from last year, as Mina Shirakawa challenges Sai Kamatani for the Wonder of Stardom Championship. So that'll be my first match. My second match, because I did not get enough Momo Watanabe in my life in the month of March.
In the 3 out of 4 we did last month.
and we released from the vault the Momo white belt, right?
Yes, we did.
So I didn't know this actually until I read your book, Chasing the Dream, Stardom's 50 Greatest Matches, which this match is in there, that this match sold out Korakuen Hall, and it was Stardom's largest attended show. So we're going to be going to the 9th anniversary show as Momo Watanabe challenges Mayu Iwatani for the World of Stardom Championship. So again, stalling for more time for Rob. The matches that I have picked to be Mina Shirakawa challenging Saya Kamatani for the Wonder of Stardom Championship from All-Star Grand Queendom, and Momo Watanabe challenging Mayu Iwatani, the icon of Stardom, for the World of Stardom Championship from the 9th anniversary show. Sir, are you ready to be tagged in, or do you want me to sing Hanen's theme some more, or what would you like for me to do, sir?
Oh Lord, no! I don't think it's fair that we expose our readers to that more than once. Good grief! Not on the free feed, anyway. No, I actually, despite being horrifically unprepared, I have managed to come up with two fairly quickly anyway. There's two matches that I want to do again, and I did have to think, have we done these before? So you will have to jog my memory if we've done these before. I don't think we have. The first thing I want to do is, one thing about writing Chasing the Dream was that I got to look back at a lot of old Stardom and have a new appreciation for just how improved Yuzuki Aikawa was. I know that we did Yuzuki Aikawa versus Meiko Satomura a couple of months back. Fantastic match from Yuzuki Aikawa's final appearance at Korakuen Hall. What we're going to do for the next one is we're going to do Yuzuki Aikawa versus Nanae Takahashi from Year-End Climax 2012, which is just after Yuzuki Aikawa announced that she was retiring from pro wrestling at Ryogoku in April 2013, and is also her prize for winning the 5-star Grand Prix, the inaugural 5-star Grand Prix, where she defeated Kyoko Kimura in the final. So that is going to be my first match. Matt, I don't think we've covered that one, have we?
We're good to go, sir. We are good to go.
Love that.
1 for 1. 1 for 1, folks. One in a row, as my late father-in-law would say.
One in a row. Love it. Love it. Mantra of my life. And I think this one we're okay with as well. We're going to go back to the 8th of February 2020. Obviously, Sari has re-emerged in Stardom, where she teamed with Chihiro Hashimoto against Natsupoi and Saori Anou in a tremendous tag team match for Natsupoi's re-debut or return to the ring. But Sari was actually supposed to be wrestling Mayu Iwatani on the 8th of February. Unfortunately, that couldn't happen because Sari, I believe, she was either injured or unwell, and she was on her way out to WWE, so that never happened. So they replaced her with Marvelous's Takumi Iroha in a match that was voted by Stardom Cast listeners as the singles match of 2020. So that's what we're going to be doing, Matt. We are going to the Way to Major League, 8th of February 2020, to Korakuen Hall. Once again, Mayu Iwatani versus Takumi Iroha in a special singles match.
Good news and bad news, my man. That second match, the Stardom Cast has done it, but me and you have not done it. I did that one as one of. I have done that one and the championship match that followed that a few months later. I've done those two solo, so we are going to tag that one up, my man. So excellent, two excellent picks. I don't think I've ever seen Nanae Takahashi and Yuzuki Aikawa. If I have, it's been a few years since I've seen it, and then I haven't seen Mayu versus Takumi Iroha in a good year or so. So all great picks. I'm excited for those 4 matches, and it seems like April is going to be another fantastic month on the Patreon.
Yeah, it was a match that took me by surprise, really. Yuzuki Aikawa made her debut against Nanae Takahashi in a produce show in 2010. Got beaten pillar to post in that match. Really did pay her due in that match. And then it's interesting to watch that match and then to see how far she has come in 2 years. Obviously, early Stardom was very much built around Nanae Takahashi and Yuzuki Aikawa. So, yeah, very much looking forward to doing that match. And that match, yes, is in Chasing the Dream, my last shameless plug for the book. Let's...
Yours, but not mine.
I don't know if Matt mentioned it. He may well have done, but what was due to come out on Sunday, but I unfortunately pressed the wrong button on Patreon, so it's available now, is our 90s All Japan Women's Watch Along. Did you mention this, Matt?
Oh, no, I didn't. Yeah, I noticed that they came out like bam, bam. I looked at my phone. I was like, hey, man, Rob's just dropping everything on Patreon. He's rocking and rolling. I thought maybe you upped the caffeine and you were rocking, my man.
No, not at all. I just pressed the wrong button and forgot to schedule it. So for a white belt and above, our latest retro watch along is going back to the Joshi Roots 90s All Japan Women's. We're going for a Bull Nakano match because, of course, as we know, Bull Nakano is going to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame this year, and rightly so, well deserved. We're also just a couple of weeks removed from the anniversary of the hair versus hair match between Giulia and Tam, a match that we are going to be talking about a little later on in its more recent incarnation. So I thought, why not do a hair versus hair match, including Bull Nakano? So what we are going to do is we're going to travel back to 1991, January 1991 in Kanagawa, where Bull Nakano and Kyoko Inoue are going to be taking on the Jungle Jack team of Aja Kong and Bison Kimura in a match that can be best described as absolute bloody carnage. It is a match where me and Matt spend most of the time just laughing in exasperation, but it is a ridiculously fun match to watch. So if you are a white belt tier member or above, then that has already dropped. It was supposed to drop on Sunday, but I'm a little bit of a klutz, so that has now dropped a little bit early as a little bit of an apology for the alternate commentary coming out slightly late this month. So anyway, let's kick straight into the news. Me and Matt mentioned last week, actually, that every time we do a podcast, it seems that big news drops that night. And last week was absolutely no different. Obviously, it was AEW Dynamite Big Business, which was the debut of Mercedes Moné in Boston. However, before that, AEW dropped a photo of Tony Khan and Mr. Okada from Stardom, and it turns out that officially AEW and Stardom are partnered, which we sort of thought was coming. It sort of dropped out of nowhere, but it wasn't a huge surprise to many people, especially after Tony's tweet about Rossy Ogawa. And we talked a little bit about that, how, I think Rossy was seen as a hurdle to this partnership. I'm not entirely sure how, based on how much power he had towards the end. But even so, AEW and Stardom are in partnership. It appears that Stardom wrestlers are going to be appearing on AEW television sooner rather than later. We already have Mina Shirakawa debuting on Ring of Honor in her match against Anna Jay, which is on Ring of Honor Club, I believe, today, actually, as we record the 21st of March, episode 55 of ROH on Honor Club. That is her debut. There are very heavy rumors coming out of the Wrestling Observer newsletter that both Azumi and Mina Shirakawa will be at Supercard of Honor, which is going to be on that Friday the 5th of April. So, Matt, it does appear that not only are we going to see some Stardom talent on Dynamite and other AW programming, but we're also going to see some Stardom participation at Forbidden Door also. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, real quick before I tackle that, we did have a person live in the arena in Boston, a very loyal friend and fan of the Stardom cast, one Chrissy Roman, who might be the biggest Mercedes Moné fan in the world.
Chrissy's ace. Yeah.
Yeah, she is so nice and such a sweetheart and so just like the nicest person. But I know she was there, and when obviously I got your text, and I can't read on air what your exact text was because there was some explicit language in there. And then I was like, "Oh, what happened now?" And you sent me the picture of Okada, President Okada, not Kazuchika Okada, shaking hands with one Tony Khan, and I was like, "Oh boy, this is going to be something." So I messaged some of my contacts that work for AEW / Ring of Honor, and it's like, "What's going on?" And they're like, well, just keep informed on what's up. And then I knew that Christy was there. I was like, hey, let me know if there's any Stardom people on the show. And they're like, yeah, Mina Shirakawa has just come out. And I said, if you want to give me some notes, I will give you a free plug and call your name out on the show. She's like, absolutely. She said that Mina got a really great reception. A lot of people knew who she was, considering the fact that she's only wrestled, I think, one match in the States. And that was about a year and a half ago in New York City when she teamed with Ruaka. She said her match was really good. I did not get a chance to watch it over there on Honor Club, but she said that everything she did looked really well and that she won with the Glamorous Collection Mina. So thanks, Christy, not only for the notes, for just being an awesome person. And Rob, you know how my mantra when it comes to social media, I stay away from all negative people. Chrissy's the exact opposite. Like, I love her enthusiasm for pro wrestling. I love how positive she is, and just what a great, wonderful person that she is. But anywho, to and again, thank you, Chrissy, for the notes and all the support you show us over here on the Stardom Cast. But anywho, yeah, it's definitely interesting going on now with AEW, and it looks like this partnership with Stardom. Again, it is heavily rumored that on Supercard of Honor that Azumi and Mina Shirakawa will be on that show. I think there's only 2 matches officially announced. Obviously, we have Azumi and Mina on the show on the 4th, the Stardom show, and they're going to be at the Spark Joshi show on the 7th on that WrestleMania Sunday. So, and all shows we're going to be at, folks. So if you're going to be there and you see us, please come over and say hi. But it does look like that the Forbidden Door is going to be not only just a Forbidden Door with AEW New Japan, like we saw the last 2 years, but looks like we're getting some participants from CMLL and Stardom as well. And more than likely, myself and our editor-in-chief, one Sean Montrose, will be heading to New York City to cover Forbidden Door. So as long as I know it's in June, they did not make an announcement yet on what date of June. So I looked at my calendar, and I just have a little thing called my 12-year wedding anniversary that happens to be on a Saturday in June. So as long as it doesn't fall on that, I'll be good to go. But regardless, exciting times. I know some Stardom fans don't want the partnership between AEW and Stardom because they think that Britt Baker is going to squash Mayu in 4 or 5 minutes. And I understand that. I understand people if they would be upset if there'd be a partnership. And I appreciate the Stardom fans' enthusiasm towards their love of Stardom. That's not what's going to happen here, folks. By no means, that's not what's going to happen. This is going to be great for Stardom, not only to get on Forbidden Door, but they're probably going to be on shows leading up to it. And you have an AEW Dynamite that does something like 800,000 viewers. You have Collision that does something like 500,000 viewers. The last few AEW shows, because AEW has been on fire with signing Okada, with signing Mercedes Moné, with Will Ospreay. The last few AEW shows have sold out, 6, 7, 8,000 or whatever it is. So Stardom, when they break over 1,000, it's a big deal for them. It's like, so they're wrestling in front of maybe 1,100, 1,200 people. We've seen in 2020 and 2021, they were able to break over 2,000. So you add another 4,000 or 5,000 on top of that. That's only more exposure for Stardom, and they're going to be putting them on their social media. They're going to be putting them on their YouTube. This is a win-win, not only for Stardom. Not only is it a huge win for Stardom because of the exposure they're going to get, it's going to be a huge win for AEW to have the women's roster, they're getting better all the time, and they're adding a lot more star power to the roster to have an Azumi come in, a Mina come in, a Mayu come in, a Sai Kamatani, a Shuri, Han, and Saida. I can go on and on and on. I think this is just a great thing. This is awesome for Tony Khan to get not only to be able to open the Forbidden Door to New Japan, not only to Stardom, but CMLL as well. You're going to see 4 of the best wrestling companies compete underneath one roof in New York City. I'm super excited for the show, as long as it does not run on the 16th of June, my friend.
Happy anniversary for them. I'm sure Amber will understand. Where are you going, Matt? I'm just going to go and see Tam. I imagine we'd be talking divorce proceedings were that to happen, Matt. But yeah, I can see where the hesitancy from a couple of Stardom fans comes from. The proof is very much in the pudding. We need to actually see how this is going to play out. Obviously, any sort of exposure in the Western world for Stardom is only going to be a positive thing. Hopefully, it will lead to us having some fantastic matches. The likes of Mercedes Moné one-on-one with Syuri, with Hazuki again, with Mayu again. The likes of Chris Statlander against Saya Kamatani or something like that. Okay, there are some really, really exciting women on the AEW roster. Obviously, what I don't want then is for... Again, this is a point that I've seen bandied about on social media, is people that need, let's say, fine-tuning, then using Stardom as sort of a developmental territory. Sort of sending out someone who's not quite ready onto a tour of Stardom, where that could both damage, Stardom, it could also damage their wrestlers. I'm sure that's not what they're going to do, but again, we don't really know until it happens. What could be quite interesting, though, and this leads into my next piece of news, is if we get any AEW participation in the 5-Star Grand Prix. The 5-Star Grand Prix of which has been announced. The full schedule has been announced as well, running, as we mentioned last week, from the 10th of August through to the 31st of August, which is a really quite shortened schedule. We talked about this last week about how the 2022 and 2023 versions were just short of 2 months long. This is 3 weeks. So this, I believe, or from what I am gathering, is going to be far more G1 Climax sort of style, where all shows are going to be centered on the 5-Star Grand Prix. And for me personally, Matt, just before I get into the actual dates, I prefer that than spreading it out and having one 5-Star Grand Prix match on a random card and then 4 here and then none here and then 4 there. I do prefer that structured approach of the G1 Climax, and I hope that's something they're going to take over into Stardom with this shorter format.
Well, I mean, look what they did with the Cinderella Tournament this year. Obviously, they've had 2 formats, and since they started the Cinderella Tournament, they had the one where it was the one night, and then which worked out pretty well. But you're kind of cramming a lot. And then from 2021, they expanded to multiple nights. Where this one, they just basically kind of met in the middle and gave us 5 nights, and I thought it worked fantastic. Still kind of odd that they had the finals on a Wednesday, which I believe they sold out the show and was absolutely fantastic, which we'll get into at the end of the show. That's the main event of the show, plus Rob and his bragging rights. But regardless, if you look at the format of the Cinderella Tournament, everybody I talked to loved this 5-day format. They're basically going to take that and do it with the 5-Star Grand Prix, just expand it a little bit longer, because the 5-Star Grand Prix is, it's their big tournament of the year. And my only thing was, and I know we talked about it either last week or the week before, I just hope they do back-to-back dates on the 5-Star Grand Prix, like how they've done in the past few years, because those 2 pay-per-views, either Friday or Saturday and Sunday, were well worth, the 2 pay-per-view, whether it's $60 or $70 or whatever, the 2 of the best shows of the year. But they announced which I know you're going to get into the dates, my man. Maybe this is my ham-fisted segue to hot tag you in, but they announced the dates, and I'm sure you have them in front of you. Don't they have, it's not back-to-back dates, isn't it? Back-to-back-to-back dates to open up the tournament? Isn't 3 days in a row?
It is indeed. So whereas the last 2 tournaments, I believe, have had 20 and 22 dates respectively, this year we have 12. Just 12 dates. And as Matt mentioned, the opening night is the 10th of August, and then we have shows on the 11th and the 12th. So back-to-back-to-back dates. We've then got shows on the 15th, the 17th, which is running at KBS Hall, which is always a highlight of the tournament because it's a beautiful venue. 18th of August, 20th of August, the 23rd of August in Sendai Pit, the 24th of August, 25th of August, the 28th of August in Shinjuku Face, and then the 31st of August is your finals, night 12 in Musashino Forest Sports Plaza in Tokyo. So just to sort of reiterate that, the 3 opening nights, okay, are back to back to back. The first night in the Yokohama Budokan, and the final night is the 31st of August. That is going to be in Musashino Forest Sports Plaza. Now, obviously, Matt, whether we see any AEW talent in there, we don't know. There's no point speculating on that just yet. And it might seem foolish to speculate on who are potential winners, especially as we don't really know. We've got an inkling, but we don't really know who is going to be in Stardom come August. If you were to guess now, who would your final be for the 5-Star Grand Prix? And who would be your early, and I'm talking really early because we're not even in April yet, but who would be your early front runner to win the tournament?
I think with the partnership with AEW, you have to go with somebody from AEW. It's got to be Billy Gunn. I see Billy Gunn winning this tournament.
I'm an ass man.
Anywho. As usual, off the rails. I love doing this show with you partners. It's Saya Kamatani. That's where they were very much like Julie was supposed to win it in 2021. She got injured. They caught lightning in a bottle with Sherry, and then it turned out the longer story, the long game was best for one. For Julia, I mean, what a moment for her at the end of Dream Queendom, beating Sherry, in that fantastic match, and a year and a half long story to win the championship. It it was heavily rumored, and we pretty much had it confirmed that it was Saya Kamatani was supposed to win the 5-star Grand Prix in the main event of Dream Queendom. This past in 2023 was supposed to be Tam and Saya Kamatani. We don't know, and I don't think even Stardom knew who they wanted to win that match. But that's the big match they wanted to book. So I think with everything going on with the roster splits, and especially the fact that it looks like we'll get into it at the end of the show, looks like Utami is probably leaving Stardom to go to Rossy Vice Wrestling. Then I think that would just add more to Saya's story and basically give more oomph into it. You can go with Azumi. You can go with maybe they're starting to build with Hazuki not winning any matches during the Cinderella. She obviously had the bye, but she lost in the second round to Ruaka. You can slowly start to build Hazuki up and give Hazuki the win there. But I would say that my pick to win it is going to be one Saya Kamatani. Maybe we have a Saya and Hazuki final. I don't think anybody would say no to that.
No, I agree. And obviously this is all speculative because, again, up until the 31st of August, we don't exactly know who is going to be part of the Stardom roster, though the announcement we're going to talk about in a moment does sort of clarify a couple of those names. I also think Saya Kamatani is nailed on to win this year, simply because I do believe that they will run Maika and Saya Kamatani again in Ryogoku on the 29th for Dream Queendom. I believe that is your generational money match. Whether Saya wins the Red Belt then, I don't know, but I think that could be where they go. As for a final, Saya Kamatani versus Natsupoi is where I'm going. I think Natsupoi showed, and this is something that is going to be dropping on the free feed next week, Natsupoi showed last year just how much of a star she is. A real MVP performance in last year's tournament, able to have fantastic matches with absolutely everyone. And I think she has every right to get through to the final. I don't think she's going to beat Saya Kamatani in the final, but Saya Kamatani and Natsupoi have already got one fantastic singles match under their belts, that white belt match that unfortunately gets lost in the shuffle because of Azumi and Starlight Kid on that same show. But yeah, that's one that I think could be a real banger of a final come 31st of August.
Well, I like that final real quick, my man, and then we can kind of just throw this out there in the Stardom Cast ether. You really want to crown Saya Kamatani as your new ace going to 2025? Have her beat Shuri in the finals.
Ooh.
And
Interesting. I do like that. That is nice. That is good. And obviously we know that Shuri is going to be staying because she's been announced for the Philly pay-per-view. I just want
speculation begin.
I just want to see Poi get her flowers. I want to see Poi get her flowers. She deserves it. She's so damn good. Speaking of wrestlers that are pretty much nailed on to be with Stardom, we had the next wave of talent announcements for the American Dream 2024 in the Keystone State show, which is their Philly show, on Thursday, the 4th of April, 2024. They announced this on Twitter and then announced it on the pay-per-view as well. But the latest set of talent announcements to go along with the first wave of Mayu Iwatani, Azumi, Mina Shirakawa, Momokogo, Momo Watanabe, Syuri, and Starlight Kid are the following names: Saya Kamatani, Tam Nakano, Saki Kashima, Maika, Meisera, Konami, which is excellent news. And then we've got Ram Kaichao, Stephanie Vaca, the new New Japan Strong Women's Champion, Willow Nightingale, which I'm absolutely buzzing about because she's great, Mariah May, which I am really, really happy about. If they don't have her and Mina Shirakawa team as Rose Gold, I'm going to be so disappointed. And Zaya Brookside as well. Now, whether that is an exhaustive list of all the names that are going to be on this Stardom show, obviously there's no Hazuki, there's no Natsupoi, there's no Waka Tsukiyama, there's no Hanako. There are quite a significant number of names missing. Obviously no Giulia, obviously no Utami, obviously no Mei Sakurai, who are the big three, and Mirai, obviously, who are the big four, who we think might be leaving. Another big omission for me on that list, Matt, is actually Suzu Suzuki as well. But aside from that, we will talk about the omission of Suzu in a moment. What do you think about this latest list of talent?
Obviously, myself and Tam Nakano will be in the same building at the same time, so I wonder if the legendary ECW arena can hold all the wonderfulness that is Tam Nakano. It was so funny because I know in the morning when you're at work, you have problems with Twitter, or your cell service isn't that good. So it always seems Stardom drops this news for me like 5:30, 6 a.m. So I saw the list, copy and paste and sent it to you. And I was just excited that Tim and Maika were on the list. And you're like, sent back, like, this is a good list, but where's Suzuki? She was literally the first person that tweeted out that she wanted to go to America. I was like, you're right. I don't even see Hazuki on here. No Natsupoi, no Soriano, no Hanan. Now Hanan just won the Cinderella tournament. So I have a feeling that we will probably see her, on that list. So, so really, really good stuff there. It's I think that'd be really smart. Excuse me, sorry. I think that would be really smart for Stardom to be able to really promote Hanan as the Cinderella tournament winner coming into America, and maybe put her on one of those other shows, whether it be one of the GCW shows or even the Supercard of Honor show. So yeah, interesting to see. We don't know if this is going to be the complete list. Maybe they set up, Soriano and Hazuki for the Wonder of Stardom Championship at the shows this weekend, because we are, as we're recording this, literally 2 weeks away from the show, which is just crazy how time flies. So yeah, really good stuff. The roster looks really good. The fact that we're going to see not only a possible Rose Gold reunion, but a Club Venus with Xia Brookside. So I have a feeling they'll probably team them up in some fashion, one or another. And then Steph Acker, she's absolutely fantastic. And then again, you do have Willow Nightingale. So Xia Brookside is signed to a TNA contract. So you have Stardom working with AEW, TNA, or Impact, and as well as CMLL. So regardless, even if they don't add any more wrestlers, which again, I hope they add Hanan, Suzu Suzuki, Hazuki, Natsupoi, and Soriano. Even if they don't, this is an absolutely stacked lineup, and we do have one match pretty much confirmed for this show.
We do, and we will get into that very, very shortly. Obviously, the issue with Soriano is, or at least was, that she was freelance, and obviously we're going to be talking a little bit about that in a moment. What wouldn't surprise me is if we do get a white belt match, it is Soriano versus Hazuki, and then after that, Hanan challenges Soriano. I imagine that might be where we're going, especially after the Night 4 show when Hazuki and Soriano just blitzed each other in one of the most enjoyable exchanges of the entire run of 3 shows. It does surprise me that Hanan isn't on the show, but I do wonder if they did keep some people back just in case of the Cinderella tournament results. So obviously they didn't want to spoil it by putting Hanan on the show, for example. So I wonder if we will get another wave now that the tournament is finished, because if you look, there's actually no Natsuka Tora on there either. There's no Ruaka on there. There's actually a significant number of talent that's missing. Suzu Suzuki is an interesting one, and Meltzer has actually talked a little bit about Suzu Suzuki on the Wrestling Observer Radio today, and I'll just read that quotation to you. I don't know that we knew that Saya Kamatani was staying. There's a lot of people who were committed to leave that are staying, so that's an interesting thing. Sayori is probably, to me, the biggest surprise because I did not expect her to stay, and she is. So the key names, obviously, Giulia and Utami are going to be the 2 big names. Suzu Suzuki and Nanae Takahashi are probably the others, and I think that within the next month or so, we'll have the main stars. I mean, these are probably the main stars, but probably a fuller roster for the Rossy Ogawa promotion will probably be more obvious, but not right away, but probably within a month from now, I expect. There's not a great deal that Dave says there that we don't already know. Obviously, we know all the contract run out at the end of this month, the 31st. That's been touted for a long, long time. We knew that Utami was leaving. We'd speculated that Giulia was going to be joining Rossy's promotion before going off to WWE. We knew Nanae Takahashi was doing that because I believe she is actually training rookies at the moment. You've got Mirai, who was speculated, Mai Sakurai that was speculated. Syuri was one of the first announced for the Philadelphia show, so that didn't come as a surprise that Syuri was staying. Saya Kamatani was always an interesting one, because I think people put her and Utami as sort of a package deal, and assumed that if one left, the other would leave. But, you know, Stardom are going to try absolutely everything that they can to keep Saya Kamatani. They have been very, very obvious in who they want to push as the next main eventers, because say Mayu does leave, Tam Nakano is nearing the end of her career. Sorry, Matt. You've got Utami's leaving, Giulia's leaving. You're going to have huge holes at the top of your roster. So you want to push the likes of Saya Kamatani, Maika, Starlight Kid, Azumi. You want to push the future into those positions. And I think Saya Kamatani is at the very, very forefront of that. So I imagine if Stardom were throwing money at wrestlers, which is what they were reportedly doing in order to try and get them to stay, I think Saya Kamatani is probably one they were throwing a lot of money at. What surprises me is that Suzu Suzuki is actually listed by Dave as someone that is leaving. I hadn't twigged Suzu Suzuki at all, but actually we did mention a couple of weeks back that since losing at Dream Queendom, Suzu hasn't really done a lot, Matt.
No, but however, if Utami is leaving, it looks like she's going to, not unless she's going to be working a couple extra dates, because the Rossy promotion's probably not starting until the summer. So again, we mentioned it with a couple. I think we've been mentioning it the past few weeks that it's like, well, if the contracts are ending March 31st and Rossy's company's not starting until like June, there's 2 months for them where they're not going to be earning any income. Now, do they go freelance? Do they sit at home? That's a possibility, or to rest their bodies, or do they say, hey, do they go and tell Stardom, hey, I'm going to work X amount of dates here. Here's my rate. I'm going to start this date with Rossy's company, and they're up front. Maybe that's something that Utami did because her contract is up here in about a week or so, and she's got a belt. She's got a major belt with Sai Kamatani. So the point I'm trying to get at, it does look like that they're going to be dropping those belts to Crazy Star. And Suzu Suzuki, as you know, Rob, smart guy, is in Crazy Star. And I think that is either one of the four, either Utami, Saya, May, or Suzu. They tweeted out that the match is going to happen in about a week or so, because they obviously teased it quite a bit on these shows, especially in the pay-per-view from Wednesday, which again we'll cover at the end. So if Suzu is leaving, is she leaving at the same time? Because it looks like that her. But then again, they also teased a little bit with FWC as well. So I don't know what they're doing. It's very interesting. I mean, it did look like early on when this news broke that it was going to be Utami, Syuri, and Sai Kamatani leaving. It looked like it's just Utami that's going to leave. And I can kind of understand where she's coming from. Look at the match that she had this past week. I mean, she's a certified main eventer, and she has not been at the main event scene in Stardom in quite some time. And that's no fault of her own or the booking. It's just they're so top heavy with stars. Or maybe she's just like, you know what? I proved it as Red Belt champion for over a year. Anytime they give me the nod in a big match, I hit it out of the park, whether it's Mayu for IWGP, whether it was Syuri for the Red Belt back in 2022, whether it was this match with Maika. So I can kind of see where maybe she's just like, you know what, I just want to be the top star. And no disrespect to any of the rumor names that are out there to go to Rossy's company. Utami Hayashishita is something that you build your company around. I mean, no one's going to, I don't think anybody's going to argue with me, especially you, partner, that if she's the one going, she's going to be their ace. She's going to be basically the new Nanae. I mean, Nanae was the ace when Stardom was just started. And I mean, it's if Utami is going, it's a sure bet that she's going to be the ace. I mean, it's smart money. It's an easy decision for Rossy. But yes, Suzu is a weird one because the way that she's been booked, the losses that she's been taking, where do you go there? And from what we understand, from what it's heavily rumored, is that it was Rossy that wanted her to defeat Maika for the red belt, but it was Bushiroad that wanted Maika to defeat Suzu. So there's a little bit of a power struggle there. Again, if you want to believe those rumors, but we heard those rumors from a few different sources, and they all pretty much said that Rossy was pushing for Suzu, but it was Bushiroad the final say going for Maika. So maybe Suzu's just like, you know what? I'm better off with Rossy. Peace out. I don't know. But regardless, Suzu Suzuki, at just I think 21 years old, is an absolute wrestling prodigy, and we'll see where she ends up. But it is an interesting one. But we are kind of getting, again, we're 2 weeks away here from the end of the month, which is frightening. We're getting to see just kind of what these rosters are going to look like.
Yeah, we are nearing crunch time, and again, we've just listed so many names. There aren't actually a great deal left that aren't booked on this American tour. Now, I don't think the entire Stardom roster is going to be going to Philadelphia, simply because I think I'm just having a look at the schedule right now. Oh no, they have got quite a few days. Because the Stardom, they've got a show on the 31st in Yamagata at Yamagata Big Wing. And I imagine, obviously, that 1st of April is going to be carnage because that's when we're going to find out who has re-signed and who hasn't. But then the show on the 4th, which is obviously the American show, and then you've got nothing then until the 12th of April, which is Korakuen. So you could feasibly take your entire roster. I don't think they will, because that, I imagine, is a lot of money. But, you know, are you going to risk a Natsupoi? She's just come back from injury. Maybe not. Hazuki, I do think we'll get another small wave of announcements. I'd be surprised if Saori Anou isn't on the card, especially as we're going to talk about in a moment, she's signed sort of exclusively with Stardom, and I'd be amazed if Hanan isn't on the show. Those two especially surprise me at the moment, but I do think it's something to do with the tournament final. They wanted to get that out of the way before they announced that Hanan and Namisori will be on the card. However, and it was actually you that brought this to my attention, Matt, Shupro have announced that Saori Anou has signed an exclusive contract with Stardom for a year. She will still be able to work certain outside promotions after signing this new contract. So someone that is definitely not going to Rossy Vice Wrestling is the white belt champion Saori Anou. And of course, that does mean that Stardom haven't got to rush to get the belt off her, because she isn't technically freelance anymore. It means that she can work more Stardom dates. I imagine the promotions that it mentions, the certain promotions, I imagine obviously, you know, AEW, stuff like that, they're now partners, but I also imagine Sukiban as well, as I know Saori Anou has a contract with Sukiban. But overall, Matt, are we happy with this? Do you think this changes the fact that Saori Anou could hold the white belt for a longer time? Overall, what are your feelings?
Yeah, I mentioned this when she defeated Mirai at the end of the year to win the Wonder of Stardom Championship, that it's got to be something if they were going to put the second biggest championship, and it's a lot of champion. I mean, there's sometimes that white belt has better matches than the red belt, and that's no disrespect to the red belt. It's just, you know, the people that have held that white belt with the Kairis, the Arisas, the Sai Kamitanis, the Momos. I mean, I can go through the list, but that if kind of figured if she was going to win that match at a big event, the big event at the end of the year, that she probably was agreed to some sort of contract, whether it was signed, whether it was a handshake, was a verbal agreement. And then when the split happened, when the split was official just a few months later, that you had to figure, like, okay, like they got to do one or two options. Like, one of the first people they have to go to is Saori Anou, and they have to say, hey, if you're going to re-sign with us, great. If not, we need to get that belt off you ASAP, because the last thing you want is that belt showing up at another promotion. Again, that's kind of going to be rivaling to Stardom. So I kind of figured that she was probably signed until it was pretty much official that she signed for a 1-year deal. Am I happy about it? Absolutely. Saori Anou is a fantastic talent, not only as a singles wrestler, but as a tag wrestler. Obviously, her and Natsupoi, Saori Poi are great. When she teams with Tam, it's great. When everybody in Cosmic Angels, except for Saori and Yuna, was injured, Saori and Yuna Mizumori were a fantastic team that I don't think enough of us are talking about how great they were in those quote-unquote house show matches. So, and then this gives the opportunity for Saori Anou to hold the belt longer. Again, if she dropped it to Hazuki tomorrow, would I be upset? No, absolutely not. She dropped to Natsupoi in a month or two with a little bit of build, would be upset? Absolutely not. But at the same time, she's so good in the ring and so great in her role in Cosmic Angels that this is a huge, huge win for Stardom to sign somebody that has basically just been doing freelance work for forever. So for a really long time. So this was a big, big get for Stardom to sign her to from what we understand, is a 1-year deal, and I believe she's going to be wrapping up her independent dates, and then starting in April, she'll be signed exclusively to Stardom. And again, that's another one I expect her to be announced for Philadelphia. You just signed her to exclusive Stardom deal. You're going to want her on that big show. I think it's with the standing room only tickets. They added more tickets, so there's going to be, my guess is, over 1,000 people in that building, and then you're going to try to sell that pay-per-view for $24.99 on the Fight app. You're going to want your secondary champion on that show.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to want to flaunt your talent, aren't you? And especially with one championship match already confirmed for that show. Even if it's not a championship match, even if it just, you have Stars versus Cosmic Angels, you have Mayu Iwatani, Hazuki, and Hanan taking on Tam, Sayoriano, and I don't know, Yuna Mizumori or Sayaka Kurora or whoever. You can then set up, for a start, you're having Mayu and Tam face off, which is always exciting, but you can also then build to Hazuki versus Sayoriano. Now, I don't want to, harp on about Hazuki being a challenger because I don't want to get my heart broken. But, they did do a lot of teasing during this tour, and ordinarily, Stardom don't tease stuff for no reason, as proved with the Amisori and Hanan stuff. So I'm wondering if there is something there. This will then lead on to Hanan's inevitable challenge, but we will see. Anyway, Matt Turner, I think it's about time we kicked into these show reviews, as we've been going for nearly an hour and we haven't actually... You right?
Real, no, I was gonna say real quick, buddy. There was literally something that I meant to tell you to put in the news, and I forgot. So I don't know if you saw this. Obviously, as you know, President Okada was on Wednesday in Boston for the AEW thing, and him and Tony Khan in meeting. But did you see that he stayed in the States for like 2 or 3 extra days?
I did see this. Yeah, did he come back? I thought he'd gone to Japan and then come back.
Maybe what it was, but yeah, you know what? Maybe that's what it was. But regardless, he said that he was meeting with officials in Philadelphia to discuss something. Now, many of us would say, okay, maybe he was just fine-tuning the details of the show coming up here in 2 weeks. Like, that's something you can do over a phone call and email. You don't need to fly halfway across the world for that. My thing is, and this is just speculation, and I haven't even discussed this with you or any of my friends, or any of my friends that work for Ring of Honor, AEW, or Andy Head, or any of my friends that are involved in independent wrestling. My thing is, if he flew all the way over there to talk to more people in the Philadelphia area, if there's going to be Stardom wrestlers on Forbidden Door in the summer, maybe he's booking another Stardom show in that area. Because you have to think, the Stardom show at the ECW Arena sold out literally to the point where they're adding more standing room only. And we're going to be packed like in there like sardines, and I'm super excited to see everybody there. Hopefully they come over to the live Stardom Cast podcast, but I'll plug that later on in the show. But there's a good possibility that he's like, okay, Philadelphia, we're tapping into this market. There's clearly something there. There's going to be a lot of people in town in New York City. Philadelphia and New York City really aren't that far away. Again, New York City is a hotbed for professional wrestling. Always has been since Vince McMahon's dad, Vince Sr., ran that territory in the 60s. Maybe let's try to run a smaller venue here. Maybe the New Yorker, or some of these shows that Ring of Honor used to run in the New York area, whether it's the Hammerstein Ballroom, whether it's the Manhattan Center. Maybe on the day before the Forbidden Door pay-per-view, let's run a Stardom show in New York City, or maybe somewhere in the Philadelphia area. So that is a possibility that during Forbidden Door, maybe even just let's run 2 dates in Philly, in August or September. So I think, again, if he's flying all the way across the country to meet with somebody in Philadelphia, I don't think he was popping in and saying, hey, we good? The zoning laws, everything good? Great. All right. Oh, by the way, Rob Goodwin, author of the book Chasing the Dream, he's going to be here. He's allowed in here, right? Okay, just want to make sure. All right, I'm going to go back on my plane and fly. I don't think that's what happened. I think that Stardom is looking to probably book more shows, not only in the U.S., which would be a good thing, but if they book more shows in the Northeast, more shows that I can go to, my man.
Absolutely. And I'm relying on you for notes So I'm hoping that will be the case. So let's talk about the Cinderella tournament then. Obviously, we've had nights 3, 4, and the finals, night 5, all happen over the space of the week. Before we get into the individual days of the tournament, what did you think about the tournament as a whole, Matt? And what did you think about the booking of the tournament overall?
The booking was great, my man. When we did our predictions, none of us had any double over the top rope, time limit draws, and going back, and I think I've seen every Cinderella tournament. I don't think the first one you can find really readily available, but I think this is the first year in the history of the Cinderella tournament. And if I'm wrong, partner, let me know that they've never had any buys other than the ones that are, that were given. Those 8 buys that were already given. I mean, no double time limit draws, double over the top rope, anything like that. So every bracket had something there and it meant something. And not only obviously I was upset that Ruaka defeated Hazuki. Not only did I have Hazuki as my pick, it's no secret to anybody that listens to the show. Hazuki is, if I had to pick a favorite wrestler in all of wrestling, it's her. But the way that it built with the cheating of Oedo Tai to finally get their own, and we'll get into it at the end of the show. Hazuki getting her revenge with one move, and the fact that everything flowed well. You always, when you have these tournaments, you're going to want to elevate younger talent. And when they announced these brackets, they said the reason why the Tams, the Mayus, the Maikas aren't in this tournament is because they're already elevated. We want to elevate younger talent. Obviously, you elevated Hanan because she won. You elevated Ami Sourei because she was one win away winning the whole thing. You elevated Ruaka as well, and the rookies, because the rookies, even though and Zach Karor was the only one that was able to get to the first round, but you're putting them in a bigger spotlight on this in the second biggest tournament in Stardom. Majority of these shows were jam packed. Every match was really good, and I thought the booking of the tournament was great. It wasn't too long, it wasn't too short. Everything went by really well. And kudos to the fantastic people that run Stardom World and do the cameras for the 2 shows that weren't pay-per-views out of the 5. The fact that they got those shows up in mere minutes. And I know they did the ECW fan cam. They did the one hard cam and then one other roaming cam. And then within a day or 2 later, they had everything edited and put back up. Because I know there were some people that were complaining that they couldn't what's the word I'm looking for, appreciate the wrestling as much as they were watching a regular Stardom show because of the different camera angles. But I understand it's okay, you have the 2 camera angles, you can see everything. They wanted to get it up as soon as possible, so then this way when the finals came, if you didn't want to be spoiled, you were able to watch everything as it went, and they went back and re-edited it and put it back up. I thought that was genius. I had no problem with the raw footage because that's how I watched it. Folks, if you've ever been to a wrestling show, guess what? You only have one angle. You're not roaming around from seat to seat. Excuse me, I know I'm in row 10, but can I go into seat 1 for this match? Or can I go into seat, row 2 for this spot? No, that's the way you watch pro wrestling. And I really enjoyed it that way. So great booking, great job from everybody in Stardom. I thought the production of the final night was great. I thought there were so many wrestlers that got over. You're building Oedo Tai up as this better House of Torture. Notice I said better, Rob. With all the interfering that they did for it to have a conclusion with Han stopping the interfering and Hazuki with one move. But I thought it was really good. How about you, my friend?
I'm so glad you brought up Ruaka, because that's something I wanted to talk a little bit about. Because I saw quite a few people compare this to how the House of Torture had been booked during the New Japan Cup. And from what I've seen, there have been completely contrasting reactions to the way the 2 things were booked. Where New Japan went wrong is that House of Torture, there was, I think, 5 members of the House of Torture in the New Japan Cup to start off with, and 3 of them made it through to the later stages, which means that every match was exactly the same. And it started being heated, it started being boring. And that was actually my issue in 2020 with Oedo Tai, because that's how Oedo Tai were. This, however, I felt was better because we built the narrative of Ruaka. The way she beat Hazuki, the way she beat Xena She tried both of those methods then against Hanan. It ultimately built up Hanan as the babyface, which is what you are trying to do. Yes, Hazuki was used as a sacrificial lamb. Yes, Xena was used as a sacrificial lamb. But ultimately, the entire tournament was about elevating Hanan. And I think they did that really, really well through the use of Ruaka, because yes, she beat Hazuki. And that's devastating. And I know that a lot of people were annoyed and frustrated by that. But ultimately, because of the way she beat Hazuki by Oedo Tai smashing out her legs from underneath her on the apron with the baseball bat and then hitting that cross body to the outside, she tried that against Hanan, failed. The way she beat Xena after Xena got that box absolutely launched at her and then got hit with the freezer bomb. She tried that against Hanan. It failed against Hanan. And because we've been used to seeing this, we're like, oh, don't let this happen again. Don't let this happen again. Yes, go Hanan. And it builds that organic support for Hanan. I thought it was perfect. And you've got the added narrative, of course, that Hanan and Ruaka have been feuding since the literal day that they have been in Stardom. So that story was perfect. It was well done. And again, we weren't sort of massively oversaturated with it because every single member of Oedo Tai was in the tournament doing the exact same thing. Starlight Kid was in the tournament, had a clean tournament. It was the only one it happened with, and ultimately I think it was booked brilliantly. Would I have liked to have seen a semi-final with Hanan and Hazuki? Yes, of course I would. However, I'm willing to sacrifice Hazuki if it means that Hanan gets the elevation that she deserves, because I think she's proved over this tournament just how much of a star she can be. And, you know, credit to Ruaka. Yes, her matches were not blowaway. There's not a single match that I will go through over these 3 shows where Ruaka, I think, has got more than a 2.75 or a 3. However, what she did was she was that necessary roadblock for Hanan. And that's the big thing for me, because the difficulty is with House of Torture is who got over. Like, yep. I don't feel, I don't feel like anybody got over with the House of Torture stuff. And New Japan actually had this issue back in the G1 Climax 28, where the Tongans were running roughshod over the G1. It was Tama Tonga in one block and Bad Luck Fale in the other block, and they'd just get DQ'd. And it was happening over and over and over again in the exact same way, and it was getting so repetitive. And this just seemed to be that turned up to 11. And I can see what they're trying to do with the House of Torture, but it's just so bland and boring. But thankfully, this isn't a New Japan podcast. It's a Stardom podcast. And I thought that they booked Ruaka far better. And I do want to give credit to Peps on Twitter, who... Great follow. Absolutely great follow. But they noted something about Hanan's run, full stop, in this tournament, from the history she had with Mirai to Starlight Kid being the one to eliminate Hanan last from the Battle Royal to get that white belt shot, to then facing Ruaka, who of course is her generational rival, to then facing Amisori, who is her current rival. And that little tree, that little diagram of how Hanan has faced her rivals throughout this tournament as though it's been like levels in a video game, I thought that was really, really well booked. And it was something I actually didn't pick up until I read it. And then I was like, oh my God, that's perfect. Absolutely perfect. So yeah, overall, I thought this tournament was really, really, really well booked. Whereas the last 2 tournaments have been, I think it's fair to say, either throwaway or just so bizarrely booked, like really weirdly booked. I think this one, every result mattered. I think the right people ultimately went through. I know we're disappointed that Sayurida went out early. I know we're disappointed that Hazuki went out early. And we feel very sorry for Momo Kogo, who can't seem to catch a break. But ultimately, Amisori came out of this tournament looking fantastic, had a really, really good semi-final match with Azumi and had a fantastic match with Hanan in the final. Azumi did fantastically well, elevating the likes of Miyu Amasaki, the likes of Sayaka Kurora, the likes of Amisori. You know, she had a great run as well, so she's elevated. The spotlight was rightly put on Ruaka, who sometimes gets lost in the shuffle in Oedetai because of the 8,433 members of Oedetai. Overall, I thought this tournament was one of, if not the best booked Cinderella tournaments they've done in God knows how long. And I know that's quite a bold statement, but I'm willing to die on that hill. Let's kick into this first show then. So night 3 of the Cinderella tournament was the 16th of March, from the Arcria Himeji in Hyogo, Japan, in front of 398 people. I'll run through the results really, really quickly, and then, pardon me, we will pick out some of the matches. So we opened with Wingori, Hanan, and Saya Ida defeating the team of Meisera and Rana Yagami in 8 minutes and 36 seconds. Our first Cinderella tournament second round match saw Azumi defeating Sayaka Kurora in 7 minutes and 14 seconds with the Azumi Sushi. In the next Cinderella tournament match, Miyu Amasaki defeated Mei Sakurai in 6 minutes and 56 seconds. In an 8-woman match, the God's Eye team of Shiori Mirai, Amisori, Zaki Kashima defeated the Cosmic Angels team of Natsupoi, Theoriano, Yuna Mizumori, and Aya Sakura, with Shiori submitting Aya Sakura. We then moved on to more Cinderella tournament action. Xena defeating Waka Tsukiyama in 5 minutes and 32 seconds with the Thunderstruck. In a match that currently has a 4.86 rating on Cage Match, so it wasn't hugely popular. Ruaka defeated Hazuki via over the top rope elimination in 6 minutes and 57 seconds. In your semi-main event, EXV team of Maika, Hanako, and Mina Shirakawa defeated the Queen's Quest team of Utami Hayashishita, Saya Kamatani, and Lady C, with Maika pinning Lady C with the Michinoku Driver 2. And then finally, in a 3-way 9-woman tag team match, which was initially supposed to see Giulia teaming with Tam, but unfortunately Giulia was pulled from this and the following card due to poor health. Crazy Star team of Meisei and Suzu Suzuki and Tam Nakano defeated the Oedetai team of Momo Watanabe, Natsuko Tora, and Starlight Kid, and the Stars team of Mayu Iwatani, Koguma, and Yuzuki in 15 minutes and 3 seconds, with Tam Nakano getting the pinfall over Yuzuki with the Tiger Suplex. Matt, obviously we're going to talk about the Cinderella Tournament second round matches, but what about the other matches on the card? What should people be looking at on this card?
The co-main event and the main event, in my opinion, were the two best matches on the show. With the main event being the best match of nights 3 and 4, in my opinion. But Rob, I kind of just want to pick your brain on something, my man. You're much smarter than me. So match number 1, we have our favorite, Saida, getting the wins. Considering the fact that this is technically a Cinderella, this is the Cinderella show, right? Night 3 of the Cinderella tournament.
Mm-hmm.
When you have the high-speed champion that's in there, right? And then you actually have the overall winner of the tournament in this match. Now, obviously, I know Hanan is on the same team as Saida, but since it's Saida the one that gets the windfall here, don't you think that maybe she gets a wish of her own?
By proxy. I think so. And I think that wish should be to challenge Seth Rollins at WrestleMania.
Yes. Yeah, you knew where I was going. I pitched you a softball and you hit it out of the park.
There you go, my man.
What a team. But now let's get into these Cinderella matches, especially with match number 2 with Azumi and Sayaka Kurora. Again, Sayaka is somebody that we just see getting better all the time. And this match that Azumi had with her reminded me of the Miyu Amasaki Azumi New Blood match, where we saw Miyu Amasaki really turn it up to another level. Now, well, this match wasn't as good as that, but we saw Azumi giving her a lot, as well as really kind of really throwing those strikes, kind of firing out there, basically kind of, I guess to steal from the Nai Takahashi, show your passion. So Azumi gave Sayaka Kurora a lot in this match. I mean, this thing went really, really fast. basically showing that Saka Kurora, if need be, they can plug her in the high-speed division, because it always seems like they're looking for different people to plug in that division. And I would love to see maybe a May Sarah versus Saka Kurora high-speed championship match like 3-4 months down the line as they continue to build Sayaka up. But I thought this was really good. I actually had it at 3.5 stars. It was my favorite of the tournament matches from this show. Really, really good. And again, it's just these crop of rookies, not only Saka Kurora, but we've seen Aya Sakurai come back and she's looked great. Obviously, Yuzuki is pegged for big things. Hanako is really good, as well as Rani Yugami. This crop of rookies that Stardom has, they're really something to watch. And each and every show, they're getting better. And one of the reasons why they're getting better is because they're having matches like this with somebody like an Azumi. So, again, iron sharpens iron. Really, really good stuff.
Yeah, completely agree with you that this was certainly the Cinderella Tournament match of this show. The bar wasn't terribly high, if I'm being honest. All the matches were good, but nothing excelled. However, here, I feel like Azumi and Sayaka Kurora had really good chemistry. I really like the way that Sayaka Kurora sells. I think that she is one who is benefiting so much from repetition in the ring, and she seems to be getting those intangibles that we repeatedly talk about in the ring. You know, her spear is always the thing that's talked about because it's absolutely fantastic, but everything she does now, she is improving. She doesn't seem to make many mistakes. She's confident in what she does, and that confidence is oozing into the way that she carries herself. And that was something, if you remember when she debuted, that I was a bit like, oh, she seems a bit generic, because you had Rani Yagami, who was obviously very clearly different to the other rookies. I think that Sayaka Kurora has grown into herself, has grown in confidence, and that is translating into these matches. Of course, it helps that you're in the ring with Azumi. You haven't got time to get anything wrong because you're wrestling at 1,000 miles an hour. But ultimately, I thought this match was brilliant. Elevated Sayaka Kurora, which again is the main point of this Cinderella tournament. They were focusing on youth, and I think the right people went over at the right times. And yeah, I thought Azumi was Azumi. You know, we sing Azumi's praises repeatedly on this podcast because of how good she is. Will Ospreay was talking, as you mentioned, Matt, about on Chris Jericho's podcast about how good Azumi is, and he's not wrong. Azumi is a fantastic wrestler, and she's becoming such a more rounded wrestler. She is so much more now than the high-speed bomb girl. She is someone that you could quite easily plug in to that main event scene, and I think she'd have absolutely stellar matches. Miyu Amasaki and Mai Sakurai, Matt. We know that Mai Sakurai is leaving, and the way that we know that she's leaving is because show by show by show, her hat is getting smaller.
And no mic time.
And no my time. No my time. Honestly, she came out in the Rossy hat, and I was like, oh my God. They really are. They're cutting down on Mai Sakurai. You know, she was coming out with the Captain Jack Sparrow hat, and then it was even bigger, and it just seemed to be swelling, like Popeye eating spinach. And then all of a sudden she comes out with this tiny, tiny hat, and I was like, oh my God. She's really leaving.
The budget, the hat budget, you know what I mean? They took the trillions of dollars that they were investing in the hat budget and gave it to Soriano. And you tell me which one's better. Would you rather have Mai Sakurai coming out in giant hats, or would you rather have Soriano for another year? You know, that's a discussion for another day. Maybe that'd be a roundtable discussion we'll do for next month's podcast. But yeah, I mean, obviously she's on her way up. Maybe she's they're taking the hat budget over, and she's gonna have huge hats over for Rossy Vice Wrestling. That's a possibility. Maybe they'll have a hat off between Rossy and Sakurai. That'd be something.
Ooh.
That'd be something. Yeah. Ooh, look at us booking fantastic. But Rossy's like, Stardom, you can have your beauty salon zest hair match. We're gonna have the hat off over here.
Imagine 7 stars in the Tokyo Dome.
Women and children crying. Good stuff, good match. Sakurai is obviously, again, she's a good wrestler, a very good wrestler. She's not somebody that's going to have like an Utami Maika, blow the doors off it. She's very capable in the ring. She's great with her shtick. She's going to be a great undercard wrestler for Rossy's company, and I think it's going to benefit her because she's not going to get lost in the shuffle of just a loaded roster. I think she's going to stand out really well as she's wrestling into the summer months for Rossy's company. Miyu Amasaki, new gear, the robe, everything, the confidence. constantly getting better all the time. I love how she uses the different variations of the DDT
It's
as
so
a
good.
defensive move and an offensive move. She'll usually use one maybe at the start of the match, then she'll take heat, and then she'll use it to counter one of her opponent's big moves, and then comes up like one or two out of nowhere, and then the tensai for the finish is basically what she goes. So obviously, use the leg capture O'Connor roll here. Really good stuff. I had it 3.25 stars. Again, didn't overstay its welcome, but it was really nice to see Miyu get the push that she got in this tournament.
Yeah, I gave it 3 stars. Miyu was someone I had pegged as sort of having the Amisori role, if you like, someone that you can sort of elevate. I think Amisori did phenomenally well in the tournament and has come out better for it, as I mentioned before, but I think Miyu did tremendously well in the couple of matches she did have. Xena and Waka Tsukiyama. Is Xena one of the most underrated choppers in Stardom, Matt? Because some of them, it's no wonder she has got the nickname of Touch of Thunder, because Jesus wept, she hits them hard.
Yeah, she's a hard hitter, and we've noticed she's been more explosive, not only the chops, but the suplexes. That double underhook suplex that she throws is really good. Like, she just explodes out from the hips, and she's just somebody, again, that I think you mentioned it perfectly, like a week or two ago on the podcast, that she might have got lost in the Club Venus shuffle with Mariah May. And that's nobody's fault. Mariah May is just, just her aura and her presence is just, with her and Mina as pretty much the front runners of that group. It's like, yeah, you can understand. And now she's back, and she was good then, but she's better now. You can tell that whatever she was doing, she was definitely training. And I'd love to see the little run that she got here in the tournament. I wouldn't be shocked by the end of the year if you see her get a shot at the World of Stardom, or the Wonder of Stardom Championship. Whether it be Suzuki has it, or whether it be still Soriano or Hanan. I think those would be some really good matches. So, and again, Xena is another one we talked about on the show a few weeks ago with people from from Stardom going to Rossy's company or going to WWE or whatever, that the 5-star Grand Prix participants are going to look a lot different than they were the year or two ago. And I would love to see Xena in the 5-star Grand Prix. She's improved so much. She's fun to watch in the ring. She's hard hitting. There's no wasted movement. She has great psychology. I think you put her in the 5-star Grand Prix where she's having matches with the Mayu, with the Hazuki, with the Kagama, with the Saida, with the Maika, with the Mina, so on and so forth. I think that I think she'd be the one, very much like how we pointed out how Amisori and Mina the year before were, like, when they went in the tournament, like, yeah, they may have like 1 or 2 wins, but when they came out of the tournament, you're like, okay, that's somebody that they can push towards the main event. And I would not be shocked that if coming out of the 5-star Grand Prix this year, that Xena is the one that we're kind of pointing at.
Yeah, I wonder if the 5-star Grand Prix could do the same for Xena that it did for Mariah May last year. Because coming out of the tournament last year, which was a very good tournament, perhaps not quite as good as 2022 or 2021 especially, but still a very good tournament. And I feel like the people that we were talking about, aside from Maika and Suzuki, in a tournament rife with injuries, Sai Kamatani, Utami, Natsupoi, Starlight Kid, all having to drop out of varying matches during the tournament. It was still a good tournament, and I think the ones we were talking about were Natsupoi and Mariah May, because I feel like Mariah May's coming out party was in that match with Giulia during the 5-star, and I wonder if Xena, who is already a very solid, competent wrestler, I do wonder if a 5-star Grand Prix run would be beneficial to her to have these different singles matches. Obviously, we don't know what the format is going to be for the 5-star, whether it's going to remain a 10-person blocks, or whether they'll adopt even more from the G1 Climax and start having 4 blocks, which I hope they don't, because I don't particularly like that in the G1, but we don't know. So we don't know how many people are going to be in it. I feel like Xena could be a good person to stick in that tournament. Of course, it depends when her tour runs out. I don't know if she's on a longer tour, a 3-month tour. I don't know if she's on a 9-month tour like Mariah May was. We will find out, I'm sure. Waka was good here, but ultimately, Xena was just too strong, I think, is ultimately the story they were telling here. You're not missing a tremendous deal if you skip this match, but Xena goes through, obviously. Ruaka and Hazuki, this is the match that everyone was talking about. This is the match that made everyone very, very cross in the fact that tournament favourite Hazuki was eliminated in this way. Ultimately, looking back on it with 2020 vision, I think it was a very good decision. The way that they eliminated Hazuki, I love the fact that Hazuki was just, wandering into the ring all serene in her robe and then just charged at Ruaka, because most of this almost 7-minute match was Hazuki absolutely blitzing Ruaka, like absolutely beating her from pillar to post. And ultimately, it took Tora pretty much splitting her head open with that errant box throw. Like, there was no care or attention in that throw. It was literally just, I'm going to throw this as hard as I can to break up the pin. Momo hitting her with the baseball bat and then ultimately taking her off the apron. It took 3 members of Uedatai to eliminate Hazuki. And ultimately, it played into the Hanan story. Yes, I was disappointed Hazuki didn't make it that far. I would still argue this is probably Ruaka's best match of the tournament, even if it's, only okay. But ultimately, it told a better story looking back on it, Matt, didn't it?
Yeah, again, obviously, I want Hazuki to win the whole thing. When I read this on Saturday morning that Hazuki got eliminated in the first round, I was like, oh, that's weird, because I thought they just built Ruaka up to defeat Kagama so they can feed her to the buzzsaw that's Suzuki. So it's kind of scratching my head. I was like, you know what? The new booking starting committee has been on fire. Let's play the wait and see game. Let's play the wait and see. And Rob, I know you have the numbers there. I think the final was right around 1,000 people, right?
The final was 994 people.
Yeah. Okay. So round up. Say there's 1,000 people. Now, if we had Hazuki versus Hanan, no disrespect to Ruaka, would have been a better match. Yes. However, the reason why I asked you, there was, again, let's round up. Say there's 1,000 people in there. If it was Hazuki versus Hanan, it'd probably be a 50-50 split with the crowd, right? But now you get Ruaka, who cheated not once, not twice, but 3 times. So I'm assuming that it was probably like 90% minimum were pulling for Hanan. And that's kind of what you want. Again, would have been a better match with Hanan and Hazuki? Yes. Again, no disrespect to Ruaka. It's Hazuki. There's not many wrestlers in the world that are better than Hazuki, especially, her and Hanan being stablemates are going to absolutely tear it up. But at the same time, if you have a 50-50 split or even 60-40 to Hazuki and Hanan wins, and then ultimately she goes on to win the tournament, she might not have gotten the reaction that she did at the end. And not only the end, but when the whole gown thing and I had a Uedatai versus Queen's Quest feels at the end of that at 6 in the morning at my house. But so again, what I've loved to see, yes, absolutely. Hazuki's probably my favorite wrestler in all of wrestling. But if you said it before, you just said it, like you look at it, this hindsight with 2020 vision, like that now we see the full picture. It makes sense. And it's just genius booking on the new brass of Stardom. It's like, okay, we're going to cheat to eliminate Kagama. We're going to cheat to eliminate Hazuki. We're going to cheat to eliminate Xena. And we're going to keep teasing the cheating to eliminate crowd favorite Hanan. And then ultimately it doesn't come that way. Again, men's match was okay. Obviously, I didn't like the result, but I see where it went. And again, hopefully this is just something they broke Hazuki down, maybe to build her back up. Like, again, it looks like they're teasing something with her and Soriano, which, take all my money, Stardom. Because you haven't taken enough for the last 3 years.
Especially last year with 483 pay-per-views.
Especially in 2 weeks. Especially in 2 weeks, my man, with the show. And if there's meet and greets and, oh, jeez.
Good grief. Let's talk a little bit about these 2 main events then, Max. I know that you were high on the semi-main and the main. Talk us through what you loved about them.
With the semi-main, I just really liked, again, they did a great job building towards Maika and Utami, which that's what we got to. They did the promo afterwards where we only have a few days to build this match where we went to. And then it almost turned into like a mini tag match with Mina and Maika versus the Aphrodite team of Utami and Saya Kamatani. Really good stuff there. We got flashes back towards Saya and Mina. They had 3 fantastic matches over the past year and change. Their match from the 2022 5-Star Grand Prix, the match where Mina unfortunately gets injured. Again, that's a great match despite the injury. And of course, one of the best matches in all of wrestling last year was Mina Shirakawa dethroning Saya Kamatani, which we're doing for alternate commentary next month for the Wonder of Stardom Championship. So you had them. They have great chemistry together. Lady C and Hanako just hitting each other, I thought was really good. And then the closing stretch with Lady C and Maika, even though with Lady C being like kind of an underneath talent and Maika being the red belt champion, Maika did let Lady C get a lot of stuff in, which ultimately Maika is able to, Maika and Mina hit the Doomsday Heart Attack that leads to the Michinoku Driver. Again, it's easy booking when you have your main event person in this match and you know they're going to go over. Whoever they're going over, built that person up in the match. And the Lady C was built up perfectly in this match, ultimately to eat the win. Because if you just squash somebody and hit them with your finisher, who did you beat? You didn't beat anybody. Where Lady C Mania is running wild, as you call the great Car C. Mania was running wild in this match, especially the last few minutes. And then Maika is able to put her away with help from Mina. So really good stuff there. And then this main event, it's whenever I see these matches, and especially if I'm on independent shows or I'm in these matches, it always turns into a cluster. It really does, because when you have multiple person in the matches, whether it's 6 people, 8 people, 10 people, or in this case 9 people, if one person is off a little bit or one person's timing's off, you can do the domino effect and just ruin everything. But Stardom has this formula down, whether it's 3 ways, whether it's multi-persons, whether they really have this formula down. And again, go back to the main event of the pay-per-view on night 1, where it's just like, this could be a cluster, but you have so many great professional wrestlers that everything was great and it was seamless and it was an absolute work of art. And this was the same thing here too. And I did like, again, because I watched this on the raw footage of the hard camera, that Tam, Suzu, and May, they came out to Twilight Dream, and Suzu just put her fingers in her ears throughout the whole entire entrance, which I thought was great, because obviously they have unfinished business. So I'd like to see them have a throwdown sometime soon. Obviously, Momo, Starlight Kid, and Tora, the A-team of Oedo Tai, they're great together. And then Mayu, Kagama, and Yuzuki. You're kind of just throwing random members of Stars in there because none of them are really actual, teammates. But regardless, Mayu, the best in the world. Kagama's fantastic, and Yuzuki gets better with each outing. And again, we knew Tam getting the win over Yuzuki in the end. Tam, former red belt champion, main eventer, huge star for this company. Yuzuki, only a rookie. You kind of see after every, the smoke clears when everybody hits all their moves and everybody hits all the double teams, and you're kind of building little matches in between. That's going to come down to Tam and Yuzuki, and Tam gives a lot to Yuzuki. Again, I absolutely love that. Ultimately, for her to hit the Tiger Suplex. I gave the co-main event 3 3/4 stars, and the main event actually broke the 4-star mark for me. I had 4 1/4 stars. I absolutely loved it. And I thought Starlight Kid was shined up really, really well in this match, especially her tag stuff with Momo Watanabe. If they don't have Starlight Kid go back on that run for the Wonder Belt, and it does look like they're building a Momo Maika match somewhere down the future. So if Starlight Kid doesn't win the white belt, and if Momo isn't successful in that challenge to Maika for the red belt, Starlight Kid doesn't win the white belt and Momo is unsuccessful for the red belt, I would love to see Starlight Kid and Momo Watanabe back as Black Desire, maybe give them a run towards the tag belts or something like that, because they're fantastic together. Again, this main event was my favorite match of nights 3 and nights 4.
And with that, let's move on to night 4 of the tournament, which was the following day, the 17th of March, 2024, from Shiga Prefectorial Bunker Industry Exchange Center Event Hall. Yep, try saying that again. From Maibara, Shiga in Japan in front of 344 people. Let's run through these results then we'll cherry pick some of the matches to talk about. In an opening 4-way match, Suzu Suzuki defeated Lady C, Mai Sakurai, and Mirai, with Suzu pinning May in 3 minutes and 38 seconds with the Grand Maestro, the Tequila. Tag team action, Empress Nexus, Venus, Hanako, and Waka Tsukiyama defeated the Stars team of Saya Ida and Yuzuki, with Waka pinning Yuzuki with the Oseo Suplex hold. In a 6-woman tag match, the Cosmic Angels team of Tam Nakano, Yuna Mizumori, and Aya Sakura were beaten by the God's Eye team of Ronnie Yagami, Shiori, and Saki Kashima, with Saki pinning Aya Sakura with the Kish Kasai in 6 minutes and 31 seconds. Cinderella Tournament quarter-final, Ruaka defeated Xena in 6 minutes and 39 seconds with the Freezer Bomb. Another quarter-final match, Azumi defeated Miyo Amasaki in 8 minutes and 50 seconds with the Numero Uno. Slight break from the tournament action as a 6-woman tag team match saw the Stars team of Hazuki Koguma and Mayu Iwatani defeat the Cosmic Angels team of Natsupoi Soriano and Sayaka Kurora, with Hazuki pinning Kurora with the diving senton. Cinderella Tournament action. Ami Sourei defeated Mei Sakurai in the next quarterfinal in 6 minutes and 31 seconds with an over-the-top rope elimination. In the semi-main event, your last quarterfinal saw Hannah defeat Starlight Kid with her 17 roll-up in 9 minutes and 27 seconds. And then in your main event, a 3-way tag team match, the EXV team of Maika and Mina Shirakawa defeated the Uedatai XL team of Momo Watanabe and Natsuko Tora and Aphrodite, Sayaka Mitani, and Utami Hayashishita, with Maika pinning Utami with the jackknife pin in 13 minutes and 27 seconds. Matt, what should we be checking out from this show, my friend?
I think we talked enough about Ruaka up until the pay-per-view. So if it's okay with you, can we start with match number 5? Match 1, 2, and 3, they were good. Nothing blow away, nothing must see. Again, we talked about Ruaka and all the cheating going up into the semifinals. So if it's okay with you, can we start with match number 5, which was Azumi and Miyu Amasaki, O2 line exploding?
Of course, please do.
We knew this was going to be good, and this was excellent. And they did. You even said there's a possibility that you thought Miyu was going to pull off the upset with Azumi going over the top rope. And Azumi does a great job. And again, we'll talk about it in the match with Ami Sourei. The great job teasing, getting either pinned or over the top ropes, and not only in that match with Ami Sourei, but in this one as well. I knew who won this match, but they did a great job of teasing Azumi going over the top rope a time or two, which I thought was just really genius the way that this match was built. Miyu Amasaki looked great here. She had great fire. Again, the gear, the new attitude, the rope, she just looks more confident. Azumi did a great job building Miyu up to ultimately to submit her to the numero uno. Again, really, really great stuff. Miyu was, again, because they're tag partners. So, and Azumi is very much a counter wrestler, but Miyu is almost taking a page out of her tag partner's playbook here, doing a lot of counter wrestling on Azumi, stacking her up for the Azumi Sushi, being able to get out of certain things to ultimately counter for the DDT, because that's kind of her go-to. So I thought this was really, really good stuff. I thought Miyu looked great. I'm excited to see what they do with Miyu Amasaki in the upcoming months. And again, she's another one that if it fits, I would love to see where she'll be at if going into the 5-star Grand Prix coming up in the summer. Ultimately, really, really good stuff. Azumi is just on another level. She's just such a special talent. I have this at 3 3/4 stars.
Yeah, completely agree. I think Azumi is a very, very good talent. Miyu Amasaki, as I've already said, is massively, massively improving. A really, really, really fun match, which I did give, just finding it, 3.5 stars. Moving on then, yeah, I do agree. We have talked a lot about Ruaka, so we will move on to the 6-woman tag before we go back into any Cinderella tournament action, because boy howdy did Hazuki take her frustrations out on Cosmic Angels, but especially Soriano, because those kicks were snug, Matt.
Not only did she take her frustrations out on Cosmic Angels, it wasn't caught on camera, but it was rumored that she beat up Mina and Unagi because they used to be in Cosmic Angels. That's how pissed off she was for losing to Ruaka. And it's folks, that obviously didn't happen. That was a joke. But yeah, she poor Saka Soriano and Natsupoi. And again, that's Hazuki versus. I almost picked for alternate commentary Hazuki versus Natsupoi from the 2022 5-star Grand Prix because she. I mentioned on the show before, she beats her up so bad. I remember you text me, did Natsupoi run over Hazuki's dog or something? Because, and yeah, again, we didn't like Hazuki. Nobody liked Hazuki losing in that, but the way they're building her back up, obviously you have FWC in this match. We have Mayu. We love Mayu. We know, when you look at this match, okay, Sayaka Kurora is taking the pinfall. But, they did a great job building her up. They gave her enough stuff in the match. Obviously, you have Sayori Poi in here. Again, that's the Hazuki Kagama FWC versus Sarah Anu and Natsupoi. Yes, please, especially if we are building properly towards a Hazuki versus Surianu white belt match at some sort of pay-per-view. They always have, as you know, Rob, they always have matches where they have the champion on one side and the challenger on another. So, FWC versus Saori Poi. I will buy that as a 15-minute time limit draw every single show because I think that'd be fantastic. Again, Mayu's great here. Mayu does a great job getting her stuff in, ultimately just to build towards Suzuki kind of getting more steam back behind her. Again, her stuff with Natsupoi was great. Her stuff with Surianu is great. This Cosmic Angels team, obviously with Tam, Natsupoi, and Sayori, I think Scotty, our buddy Scotty Wrestling, calls them the work rate angels. Like those three as a team, it's just like, holy geez, you can make an argument that they're three of the best women's wrestlers in the world, an easy argument. And Sakakura, again, we talked about in her match with Azumi. She's coming along really well, but ultimately it was the buzzsaw that was Hazuki putting down Sakakura, and I liked how they set up Hazuki for the senton to defeat Sayaka, where it was Mayu and Hazuki hitting a pump kick super kick combination. Those two are coming off the ropes with so much speed. Or Mayu, the way she throws her speed on her super kick, and Hazuki just looked like she's ready to go through a wall. The fact they're able to hit that at the same time with such force, and that Sayaka Kurura's face was able to stay in one place, just goes to show you the professionals that those two are. Yeah, really, really fun stuff. 3 3/4 stars. And I know they did a post-match promo that was on the Stardom Twitter page, the main one, that where Hazuki was like, I have not forgotten about the Wonder of Stardom Championship. And they very much had that camera shot where Hazuki was basically almost trying to play tug of war with Saori Anu's Wonder of Stardom Championship. I would love to see it. Hopefully they heat Hazuki back up more in some of these matches before we get it. At the same time, if during this weekend shows, if I wake up and find out that they're doing Hazuki and Saori Anu in Philadelphia, I'm not going to complain. And I got a feeling that you're not going to complain either, Mr. Goodwin.
I'm not a hard man to please. I'll be perfectly honest. A Hazuki versus Saori Anu white belt match with the promise of much Stardom cast beer afterwards. You can colour me happy.
10 cases will be available for purchase.
not just for us, Matt. Good grief. I do want to remember some of Philadelphia. These two last quarterfinal matches, then Amisori and Meisera, and Hanan versus Starlight Kid, both fantastic matches. Really worth going out of your way to see, Matt.
We talked about the build up in the 5-star in this tournament with just certain moves with Ruaka cheating, especially her, the way she cheated on Hazuki to have Momo trip with the baseball bat and then to hit the dive, which they then tease in that match in the pay-per-view. But with Ami, Sori, and Meisera, which is really good because you have a clash in styles. You have the high speed versus the hard hitting, and they played it off very well. With Ami Sori hitting the suplex on the apron that causes the high speed champion to tumble to the floor. We'll get into it, but they teased it in the Azumi match as well. And I love how they built that up. Again, it's something so small that if you're paying attention to and you connect all the dots, it makes a good match even better. Really enjoyed it. Ami Sori again, Sarah again, just shows you how talented these two wrestlers are because their styles are completely different, but it worked. It worked. And I had it at 3 3/4 stars. Really, really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, massively enjoyed it. I thought the power of Amisori matched the speed of Meisera really, really well. And that was something that was echoed in Amisori's semi-final with Azumi on the following show. Meisera is so good. She's so captivating to watch. She's the right mix of bubbly and, so easy to support, but also you really do appreciate just how good a wrestler she is. She's 20 years old. She's got so much upside, and she's another one in that Azumi mold that I feel like can graduate, in inverted commas, graduate that high speed division and be, right up near the top. Maybe not a red belt champion, but certainly in that conversation in that main event scene in the years to come, because she's so good. She's so good on defense. She sells like nobody's business, and she has got a deceptively hard-hitting offense as well as being frighteningly quick. I thought these two were very, very good, even just for that suplex on the apron at the end. I thought that was brutal. Hanan and Starlight Kid, Matt, I mean, we knew it was going to be good. Did it live up to your expectations?
Yes and no. Maybe I was just being greedy and I wanted a longer match. Obviously, in a card that you're getting 9 matches, you're not going to get a longer match. I would love to see these two go 13, 14 minutes. It was excellent for what it was. Again, it's a Cinderella tournament. You have to cut down a little bit of time. These two Starlight Kid, we've seen what she can do when she's thrusting in the main event. Obviously, with that match that she had with Saya Kamatani for the Wonder Belt, the match she just had a couple months ago with Sarah Anu for the Wonder Belt. Whenever they're ready to plug her in the main event, she's going to hit a home run. And I'm so excited what we're going to see with Hanan because she's there now. She won the Cinderella tournament at just 19 years old. Literally, in my opinion, the best future of Stardom champion. She's somebody that's, new blood champion with Saida. Her and Mayu had a great run in last year's Goddess of Stardom tournament. Mayu has come out and said that she would love to have a Goddess of Stardom run with Hanan. I mean, Hanan is earmarked for a lot of big things in Stardom and her wrestling career, and rightfully so because it's rightfully earned. Really, really good stuff. Again, I wish it was a few minutes longer. I think sure everybody wish it was. I think if these two wrestled for 60 minutes, we would want more. But regardless, excellent stuff. And I really liked how Starlight Kid, it was really just built up in the match ultimately to just have Hanan roll her up with a 17 roll up for the win.
Yeah, well, it was something that they'd, again, echo in the final because Hanan took an absolute pasting at the hands of Amisori and then ultimately sort of fired up to eventually win the match. Starlight Kid loses nothing apart from the match, obviously, but loses nothing in defeat here because ultimately she did dominate the match. But again, this tournament has just been the story of Hanan, and I've really, really enjoyed that about this tournament, to be perfectly honest. The main event, Matt, 3-way tag match, Maika pinning Utami. I think you're absolutely right. I think we are building to Maika versus Momo Watanabe. Am I building myself up for more disappointment? Would I love to see a Momo Watanabe red belt run? Hell yes. A big, dominant heel that can wrestle? Hell yes, I would love to see that. When was the last time we had a big, dominant heel champion? Like, I know... Yeah, that will be the last time. Yeah, because... Obviously, I know Io's second run, she wrestled as a heel. You can't really say she was a big heel, can you? She was more of a tweener.
Only when she wrestled Mayu. Only when she wrestled
and
Mayu.
Yoko Bito. And Yoko Bito.
I think I got to go back and watch that, but I kind of remember that being 50-50. But I'll take your word for it, my man. You are the smartest member of the Stardom cast.
I'm definitely the smartest English member. I think to have someone who... They sort of tried to do it with Alpha Female, if you remember back in 2013. But Alpha Female was quite limited in what she could do. Not in a bad way, obviously, but, she was quite limited in what she can do. Momo Watanabe is so hard-hitting, is so explosive in her movements. Do I think she's going to beat Maika? No, I don't. But I'd love to see a red belt run. I'd love to see her at the top of that card for 6-7 months, bludgeoning baby faces. I think it would be great. I think it would be a really cool change of pace as well, because as we've already said, there's quite a lot of face champions that have happened, because I think Kagetsu was the 8th World of Stardom champion. Am I right?
Nai, half a female. Io, Yoshiko. I'm just going off the top of my head. Yoshiko got stripped. Kairi, Mako, Io, Mayu, poor Mayu, Tony Storm, Kagetsu. I think that's 8, right?
Do you know what? I'm going to have a look now, because now I need to know. So again, ladies and gentlemen, brilliant podcast listening, I am aware. But I am just going to Google. I'm going to go on the Stardom Cast website, where you can find it out. Damn it, she's 10th.
You know where you could have found it from? Living the Dream, Stardom's 10th anniversary in review. The very first Stardom book by my good friend Rob Goodwin. I was so proud of him that he refused the plug until we got on Taka's Jericho. He plugged it at the very end. I'm so happy for you. But anywho.
Yeah, because I think you look at the champions afterwards. Bea Priestley wasn't a heel at that point when she was champion. Mayu's never been a heel. Utami's not a heel. Syuri's not a heel. Even Giulia, when she was champion, wasn't a heel. Tam, obviously, couldn't be a heel if she tried, especially not with you. And Maika, obviously, isn't a heel. She's sort of... I could see her being a heel. I could, especially with this new, you look at the way she called out Utami, very aggressive, very assertive. I certainly don't think it's heel at the moment, but I could certainly see it growing into an egotistical heel. And I'd love that. I think that'd be really cool. Having that story of the red belt corrupting Maika. I think that'd be such a cool story, such a cool narrative to go through her matches. I don't think they will do that, but I think that's an interesting way. But Momo to beat Maika, I'd be up for that.
Here's something, too, you have to think, buddy. Again, me and you both think that Saya Kamatani is going to be the one that's going to have a long run with this belt. Like, that's the next ace. And I don't have this answer, and I'm going to throw it to you. And if you may not have this answer either, or it might be a wait and see. What's the bigger money match for Saya to win? To win the red belt off Maika, her generational rival, or to win the belt off Momo Watanabe, the former leader of the faction that she wanted to join, and the person she defeated for a number of successful title defenses with the Wonder of Stardom Championship? It's a good question. That's a good question, and there's no wrong answer on that one. You know what I mean?
I would say Maika is your money match. However, you have just run Maika and Saya Kamatani in February. I do like the idea of Saya versus Momo. I think they're a good partnership. However, we did have that for the white belt where Saya won fairly definitively. We then had that for the Goddess of Stardom belts not so long ago, where again it was a fairly definitive win again. Has that taken a little bit of the sheen off it? Perhaps. However, it wouldn't take a great deal to re-add that or reapply that lacquer to Momo Watanabe, I'm sure. Overall, this match was really good, but basically setting up towards Maika and Utami. Wasn't it, Matt?
Yeah. Yeah, not only that, but it was really Momo with the baseball bat that allowed Maika to get the pinfall onto Utami. And in the main event, we basically saw Momo come out to challenge Maika in the main event of the pay-per-view. But she basically got into Utami's face, and it was Maika that almost shielded Utami. And again, if Utami's on her way out, I think we should finally get that big singles match with Momo and Utami that we've been waiting on, since the end of 2021 that we never got, and have her put. And again, what a bigger way to build Momo up for the red belt is have her defeat Utami on Utami's way out. The former leader of Queen's Quest versus the current leader of Queen's Quest. Utami is obviously a huge, huge star. Again, one of the best wrestlers in the world who had just coming off this fantastic match. What a better way to really catapult Momo Watanabe and to make her look like an absolute badass to challenge Maika for the red belt than for Momo to defeat Utami. Win, cheat, or clean or not, it's not going to matter really, because that's going to be a great match. And again, I know they had the match in the 5-star Grand Prix last year, but that was a 5-star match. They never built it up properly like the way they should have. And I think that if Utami does leave and without having that big match with Momo, I think it's a missed opportunity. Again, especially the current state of Momo. It looks like she's going to be challenging for the red belt soon. So we'll see. This was my favorite match of the show. I had it 4 stars. And once again, 3 teams, 6 people in the ring. It could get ugly. It could get confusing, and it wasn't. Stardom just does these matches better than anybody.
Let's move on then to the main event per se, the finals of the Cinderella Tournament, which was on pay-per-view on the 20th of March, which was yesterday as we record, at Nagoya International Conference Hall in Nagoya, Aichi, Japan, in front of 994 people, something that is reported as a full house. It's also the highest Stardom attendance at the venue since the 1st of April 2018. For Dream Slam in Nagoya in front of 1,020 people. Matt, for a Brucey bonus point, which I don't think will mean anything to you, because I don't believe Bruce Forsyth was anywhere near as famous in America as he was in England, but there we are. Can you tell me what the main event of that show was?
I was going to ask you what the main event was. Give me the date again.
1st of April 2018, Dream Slam in Nagoya.
Now, for not a Brucey whatever point, but let's just say it's a Bruce Banner point, because I'm a fan of the Incredible Hulk. So, let's see. April. Was it Mayu versus Jungle Kiona?
It was not.
Oh, what was it?
It was the Exploding Bat Death Match.
Oh, that we did alternate commentary on.
That we did alternate commentary for.
I was watching a random Jungle Kiona match just because I was in Jungle Kiona mood, and it was maybe a month or two after, and I noticed like Jungle was working somebody's knee. I forget who it was, and you could still see the scorch on the apron. I'm like, I should have got rid of that thing.
Yeah, the explosion was mental. But yeah, it is an interesting number, 994. I think it's a good number for that venue, definitely. And I think they sold well for that. Obviously, it's a full house. Take that with a pinch of salt because obviously sellouts, it's wrestling for a start, so they report whatever. But it's also, especially in Japanese wrestling, I've noticed that sort of it does depend on the way that we set up the venue. So, however, 994 tickets not to be sniffed at, especially when you consider, like I said, this is the highest attendance Stardom have had at the Nagoya International Conference Hall in 6 years. And it was a really good show as well, and that's worth saying. Before we run down the card, I just want to get the one negative out of the way for this show. And this might just be a me thing, but the crowd, you could not hear the crowd at all.
Yeah.
I don't know what was wrong with the miking, but at one point during Hanan and Amisori, it was like we were in the pandemic. It was absolutely silent. And I know that there was crowd noise because I could just hear it. But yeah, the miking was really bad for this show. However, that is the one negative of this show because apart from that, I thought everything else flowed really, really well. The entire card map for me was a blinding success.
Yeah, really good. There's a couple nitpicks in some of the matches, and I'll kind of break down why I nitpick. But yeah, the crowd just didn't, and it wasn't just me. I know a lot of people were complaining on social media that the crowd was either dead or it wasn't mic'd, and I think it just wasn't mic'd well. And kudos to Maika and Utami because there was much more crowd noise in that match.
Yeah,
the fact they almost went 30 minutes and it was the final thing that they saw other than Han coming out with the dress. But I was like, man, this show is really good, and I just don't know. It looks like the crowd's trying to make noise, and maybe it's not picking up well. But then for the main event, it was like, especially getting to the crux of the match. Like, that just shows you how good that Mike and Utami are. Like, really does. But yeah, overall, really good show, my man. And let's run this baby down.
So the results are as follows. We open with a singles match. Mayu Iwatani defeating Yuzuki in 7 minutes and 46 seconds with a Dragon Suplex. 8-woman tag team match next. The EXV team, easy for me to say, Mina Shirakawa, Hanako, Waka Tsukiyama, and Xena defeated the God's Eye team, Shiori, Saki Kashima, Rani Yagami, and Mirai, with Mina pinning Rani Yagami after the Venus Tower. Cinderella Tournament semi-final match. Hanan defeated that pesky Ruaka in 9 minutes and 18 seconds with the 17 roll-up. The second semi-final was won by Amisori defeating Azumi in 11 minutes and 35 seconds with the like a thunderbolt. Another three-way 9-person tag match. The Crazy Star team of Meiseiru, Suzu Suzuki, and Mei Sakurai defeated the Queen's Quest team of Lady C, Miyu Amasaki, and Saya Kamatani, and the Stars team of Hazuki Kogama and Saya Ida, with Meiseiru getting a clean pinfall victory over Saya Kamatani, which doesn't happen very often in 10 minutes and 28 seconds, with the Shooting Star, presumably, Matt, cementing that challenge for the Goddess of Stardom Championships, which I'm certainly not complaining about. The final time ever, Giulia versus Tam Nakano in a singles match went to a 15-minute time limit draw. The crowd might not have been mic'd, but Jesus Christ, that headbutt was. 10-woman tag team match. The Uedatai team of Natsukatora, Rina, Starlight Kid, Momo Watanabe, and Fukigen Death defeated the Cosmic Angels team of Natsupoi, Shioriano, Yuna Mizumori, Sayaka Kurora, and Aya Sakura, with Rina pinning Aya Sakura with the diving double knee drop. In your semi-main event, Hanan, as we've mentioned already, wins the 2024 Cinderella Tournament, defeating Amisori in 10 minutes and 59 seconds with the wrist clutch variation of her backdrop hold. And then in your main event, the World of Stardom Championship on the line, Maika makes her second successful title defense, defeating rival Utami Hayashishita with just 19 seconds left on the clock, 29 minutes and 41 seconds the runtime, with her special wrist clutch Michinoku driver 2. Matt, let's talk about Mayu and Yuzuki then, shall we?
Yeah, you kind of figure with Yuzuki and Mayu being in the same faction, Mayu being the leader of the faction, that maybe she shouldn't try to commit murder on live pay-per-view to poor Yuzuki. There was it got gift to death within the next 12 hours after the show finished, where you see Yuzuki like firing it up. And I remember watching, like, oh man, she's got really good fire. And the next thing you see is like not even Mayu's full body. You just see Mayu's foot come over and kick her in the face. I'm like, that poor Yuzuki's like, yeah, I'm getting fire on the icon of Stardom. And Mayu's like, no, you're not. Ultimately, I thought Yuzuki looked good here. Mayu gave her enough to shine her up. There's a great false finish with Yuzuki with a rolling arrow with Mayu, and I'm going to get into it when we talk about match number 3, or when we talk about the finals of the Cinderella tournament. With Mayu, now we're not looking at the ref at all, and it almost got bought as a finish because she's not staring at the ref when they do the 3 count, but ultimately it's just Mayu just that not only that kick, the super kick, and then that drop kick. It was like, oh jeez, like poor Yuzuki, like she's getting a one-on-one singles match with Mayu, her mentor, her favorite wrestler, on this big pay-per-view, sold out crowd, only for her to eat Mayu's feet a handful of times and get dropped on her head. A great opener, 3.5 stars for me.
Yeah, I gave it exactly the same 3.5 stars. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Any time that you have condescending Mayu in a match is always really, really fun. And here I thought she was the perfect mix of condescending and almost supportive. I know it's a weird couple of words to put together, but she was very, very cocky. It did feel a little bit like Mayu was playing with her food here. It was a case of, yes, Mayu was going to win. It's a case of when she chooses to win. And ultimately, after booting Yuzuki's head off her shoulders a couple of times, she pinned her with a dragon suplex. It's a really tasty opener. Really good to see Mayu in singles action again. Really enjoyable. Second match then, we have a name for the incredibly dangerous looking assisted finisher for EXV in Venus Tower. It also looks, Matt, like we have the second challengers to God's Eyes Artist of Stardom Championships, which, if you are to believe that Mirai is going to be leaving, I think we could be seeing new champions.
Yeah, they do a good job building it up, and I like how Club Venus is using the anthill. Shout out to Orange Cassidy. If you know, you know. If you don't know, Rob, I'll tell you off air. But anywho, yeah, really good stuff. More stuff with Xena and Mirai. Like literally, when they went to start the match out, I'm like, oh, we've been seeing this on these house shows with Xena and Mirai. How long before they start chopping? Yeah, they didn't even lock up. They just start chopping
immediately.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, oh, here we go. I'm all for this. This was a match that ultimately on this loaded card is going to be forgotten, and that's nothing to do against the talent that's in the ring. It's just kind of get lost in the shuffle in the final Tam Giulia match, the main event, and then the Cinderella tournament. But again, they do a great job building up Xena in this match. Mina Shirakawa is always great. Again, would love to see a Mina versus Shuri proper match somewhere, down the road. I know they had that SWA, or not the SWA, excuse me, the UWFI style match, the UWF style match, back at the end of last year. But I'd love to see them have like a proper singles match because I think their styles would adjust really well together, or gel really well together. But yeah, I mean, it looks like that's the way that they're going to be going with the Artists of Stardom Championships. And again, with Mirai seemingly on her way out, it looks like that like the EXV are probably going to proclaim their second gold in the company. And I also liked how when the bell rang, Saki Kashima just slid underneath the ring and was like, I want none of this. Like, nothing to do with this whatsoever. Rani Yugami's obviously a badass. Mirai with the chops and the lariats, she's fantastic. And obviously, Sherry is, the most legit wrestler on this loaded Stardom roster. But the bell rings and Saki Kashima's like, no, I'm good. One of you 3 badasses, you started off. But yeah, really good stuff. And I think as you mentioned, I think the whole crux of this match, the main story of this match, is to build to that Artist of Stardom Championship match that will probably be getting in the next week or so.
Yeah, absolutely. We've talked a little bit about Hanan and Ruaka, but for me, this was the payoff to Ruaka's run. We had callbacks to every elimination that Ruaka had done throughout this, and Hanan was able to thwart it. I did really enjoy the fact that no one really in the tournament helped their respective person in the ring. So when Ruaka was doing it to Xena, EXV were cut off from helping out because of a weather tie. You had when Ruaka pinned Koguma, Stars couldn't get involved because of a weather tie. Here, however, Hazuki was having none of that and threw herself through the ropes into that suicide dive, and that just upped the stakes in this match. I thought it was great. Everything Ruaka did, Hanan thwarted, and I felt like it was a really cathartic victory to get through to the final. Overall, really, really, really entertaining match. One of Ruaka's most entertaining singles matches in a long, long time, and Hanan continues her march onto the tournament final, Matt.
Yeah, I liked how in this match, again, Hanan, I believe she has Ruaka in the dandelion, which I love. I love that submission, the step over quarter Nelson. Really enjoyed it. She's in the middle. There's only like 2 or 3 minutes into the match. She's in the middle of the ring. I'm like, there's no way Ruaka's going to get out of this because this is going to be Hanan's new submission finisher. And you're wondering how she's going to get out of it. And of course, the ref gets distracted, and here comes the crate. Just Sabu thrown right into Hanan's face. Now, as always, Rob, I will make mention like I do all the time. I am a stickler for the rules. The referee did not see it. You cannot call it. I have no problem with that. Then they wrestle a couple more seconds, and then Ruaka accidentally hits the ref. So now there's a ref bump. Then I'll have a Wedo Tai come in the ring and start beating up Hanan. My first thought, maybe the first 3 or 4 seconds, as it's like a 4-on-1 beatdown on poor Hanan, I'm like, I know Stars is on the outside. Why aren't they getting in the ring to help this out? Like Mayu's out there, Kaguma's out there. They're all out there. Why aren't they in the ring? And then I look, the referee, obviously his back is turned towards the ring. He can't see. So where are his eyes? His eyes just happen to be where all of Stars are. So I was like, that makes sense with Stars being the big babyface faction in all of Stardom and Oedo Tai being the big heel faction in all of Stardom, where they're like, we have to help Hanan out in this. And then they're like, the ref is looking at us. If we get in the ring, it's going to disqualify Hanan, not only from this match, but from the tournament. So I like that we had all this cheating, but there were different levels. There were different aspects to it where the ref did not see it. So I was like, okay, I like this. And then now we got Hanan on the outside. Same thing that happened to poor Hazuki just the week earlier is she gets hit with the baseball bat in the knee from one Momo Watanabe, and then Ruaka is going to do that running splash all the way, which it was awesome. As much as I hate it that Hazuki lost, it was awesome how she did the splash in between the second and third ropes and was able to take Hazuki to take the bump. And by the way, Ruaka is going through the second and third rope, not over the top rope, so it doesn't count for an over the top rope elimination. I did have people ask me that, saying Ruaka's feet hit first, so shouldn't have Hazuki won? No, because she didn't go over the top rope. Rules. So Ruaka goes for the splash, and all of us, and I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Momo hits the baseball bat onto Hanan. All of Stars see this; they're on the outside, so now we have a big brawl on the outside because it's a Oedo Tai, Rob, and Oedo Tai's got a Oedo Tai. So Ruaka goes to run for the splash. The referee is distracted by the brawl, and the only thing that you see is Ruaka taking a face bump. And I'm like, what happened? And you see that it was Hazuki that tripped Ruaka. And then she properly takes out every single member of a Oedo Tai with one move, the dive. And you're like, oh, Hazuki literally got her steam back, her heat back with one move. Genius booking. Awesome spot from Hazuki. I thought that was great. However, my one nitpick with this match was that was your big spot in the match, right? You had all that interference. Hazuki finally got her one-upsmanship. She took out all of a Oedo Tai, all in one move, big dive. The crowd, for as quiet as they were, they made a big noise for that. And then the match continues. Yeah. And I'm like, at that point, that is your biggest part of the match, right? So it's like, it's one thing if you want, and they did tease some finishes. And I was like, you need to take it home now. And then they get into a forearm fest. And then they do this. And then they do that. After you have your big move of the match, you have a minute and a half tops to take it home because you have a crowd at a fever pitch. Now, I'll break this down and I'm going to explain it like a movie. I'm going to go to a comic movie because, of course, if you're watching a Batman movie, he catches the Joker like an hour and a half in the movie. Notice how I said catch, not kills, because I know Batman doesn't kill. He catches the Joker in an hour and a half in the movie. They have this great fight that's built up properly. He beats up the Joker, catches him, throws him in jail. Then you're like, that was great. And you know the finish of this movie is probably going to be Batman looking up at the bat signal and flying off into the night, roll credits. That's what you want. Then all of a sudden, Batman is going to walk to the bat signal, but he stops in the coffee shop to have coffee. And Jim Gordon's there. And for 10 or 15 minutes, him and Jim Gordon are just talking about the weather. You're like, wait a minute, what happened? I just saw this awesome fight with Batman and the Joker and go to the finish. Like, you're not going to get any better than that. That's what happened here. You had the awesome cheating. Nobody got caught. Hazuki dive. Then they start trading falsies back and forth. Great. And then they slow it down. And then they start throwing forearms. I was like, you lost the momentum you had. Ultimately, though, Hanan gets the 17 roll-up win for the win. If they would have cut out maybe 60, 70 seconds of something what I thought was unnecessary to me, I thought it would have meant more and they would have been able to get a better reaction from the crowd.
Agreed. It didn't need to go as long as it did, or do the exhausted spots, the forearm exchanges, things like that. Do that before the Hazuki interference.
Well, you didn't need it at all. You're going to get it in the main event. You're going to get it in the Cinderella finals. Then you're going to get a tenfold in the title match.
Yeah, absolutely. What I did enjoy was the fact that Hazuki was stopping the exact same spot that eliminated her. And I did really enjoy that callback. I thought that was great. Amisori and Azumi, I thought this was fantastic. They're a partnership I never have really thought about in terms of singles, and yet these two knocked it out of the park. One of my favourite Cinderella matches of the entire tournament, Matt.
Yeah, and when we get towards the end, I do want to, kind of just ask you what your favorite 2 or 3 matches were, because this one might be my favorite. So that match ended. This match is starting, right? Ami Soori's coming out. I go get a drink of water, feed my kitties. All of a sudden, I come in, and they're already trading falsies. I was like, what did I miss? I heard Ami Soori's music hit, and these two are going back and forth. And again, I mentioned with Ami Soori versus Mei Sarah, contrast in styles because of the high speed. Nobody does high speed better than Azumi. And nobody does falsies really almost as better as Azumi because there's so many to start. And then they get into it. Ami just throwing Azumi around, but Azumi coming back with the kicks, coming back with the forearms, coming back trying to do the not the Lemistica. Yeah, the Lemistica. Really good stuff there. And then it spills out to the apron. And then Ami teases, and I mentioned this a few minutes ago, she teases doing the suplex to Azumi on the apron that she did in the quarterfinals to get her there. And I thought that was great. And then Azumi teases doing not one, but 2 different styles of the double stomp to Ami on the apron. And I had Azumi pegged to win this because I thought Azumi versus Hanan would have been a phenomenal final. And even to the point where I don't know who wins on that one. Had Ami won here, I would have figured, okay, it's definitely going to be Hanan, for better, for worse, regardless. But I thought that was the way to go. So when Azumi's setting up these double stomps, I'm like, all right, I know I say it all the time. Azumi's the most special wrestler in all of wrestling. She is just something you have to see to believe. But I'm like, how is she going to hit this? And I thought this was going to be the finish because the way it was built and just the genius that is Azumi. How is she going to hit this double stomp and hang on to the ropes as Ami Soori rolls off the apron for the over-the-top rope elimination? She didn't hit the first one. I'm like, well, she's going to hit the second one as she's climbing to the top rope. And then the two of them are brawling back and forth. Are they going to go in the ring? Are they going to go one on the apron, one on the floor? The tension was so high. And it got to a point, and me and you recorded, I think, the day or two prior for the alternate commentary, and you're like, no, it's going to be Ami Soori in the finals. And then you gave a good reason why. And I was like, Rob may be right here. Maybe it is going to be Ami Soori to kind of complete that one story that Hanan's going through. And now I don't know because the way that Azumi's building Ami up and the way that Ami's presenting herself, and don't get me wrong, Ami Soori was a star, not only in this match, but this whole tournament. And I'm so glad that they're elevating her. And then it's kind of going back and forth. And I have no idea. And I'm sitting on my couch watching this thing, running on a handful of hours of sleep, knowing as soon as the show's over, I got to shower and shuffle off to work because no nap for me because it's a Wednesday. I was like, I'm on the edge of my seat because I have no idea who's going to win it. And then ultimately, it's Ami Soori hitting the like a thunderbolt to get the win. This was great. Probably my favorite match of the entire tournament. 4.25 stars. I thought this was terrific. And again, Azumi, somebody that even though she lost, it's not who goes over, who gets over. And I thought Azumi got over great here. And I thought, again, I think it's great that they're elevating Ami Sourei moving forward in the future in Stardom.
Yeah, agreed. I know you were a big fan of the 3-way 9-woman tag and the 10-woman tag as well. Might seem a little bit strange, but let's lump those two matches together because then we can do the 1, 2, 3 punch of the 3 sort of main event matches. What did you like about these? I know you said that, Stardom does these multi-woman matches better than anyone else without, despite there being so many women in the ring, it never seems cluttered, does it?
You look at these cards when you're buying your ticket, buying your pay-per-view, or waiting for it to come on to Stardom World. What are the matches you're going to? You're going to Tam Giulia, you're going to the Cinderella Tournament, and you're going to Maika versus Utami. And I text you and I said, these two matches kind of get lost in the shuffle. Like, you kind of almost forget that they're on the card until they pop up. And like, oh, there's so much talent in them. And these two matches crazily over-delivered. Again, 3 teams, 9 women, all fantastic stuff here. All really fantastic stuff, where a lot of this built with some Saya Kamatani and Suzu Suzuki. Obviously, Suzuki and Saya, their stuff was great. Miyu looked good here as well. Kagama and Saida, their stuff was really good. So Saida, she's just an absolute monster. I just love how she's just getting better and better, and she's getting more time in the ring to shine when they're putting these matches together. Again, there was a lot of moving parts in this match that, again, if one thing or 2 things got wrong, it could have made the domino effect, and then everything else kind of looked bad or not as crisp. But the way that Crazy Star was built up in this match, just the well-oiled machine that is Suzu Suzuki and Mei Seira, really makes them threats for Aphrodite to win the tag titles, which ultimately, if Utami is leaving, that's the way they're probably going to go and the way that they should go, because they were built up perfectly here. And I thought the finish was great because you have Hazuki going for the brain buster, and she legit is going down to hit it. Like, she literally comes off her 1 foot. Mei Seira hits that beautiful running drop kick, and poor Saya Kamatani gets dumped right on her head. I mean, I went back and watched it, and Hazuki protected her as much as she could. I mean, obviously Saya was fine because she was right after. But that's a difficult spot because you have Hazuki who is that wicked brainbuster, again, very safe with it. But at the same time, you're trying to get the story over of that Mei Seira is trying to take Hazuki out of the move to take advantage of the pin. And that's what happens. So I know it'll read that Mei Seira pins Saya Kamatani with the rolling star or the shooting star, whatever she calls it. But a lot of assist goes to Hazuki with dropping Saya Kamatani on her head and to ultimately get the win. I love this match. I had it at 4.25 stars, again, because you have all these moving parts. Everything made sense. Nobody got lost. Everybody looked really good in the match. And then we were building toward, and again, not only does it, when the finish happened, I'm like, that makes sense because that's going to give us our Crazy Star versus Aphrodite match that we didn't get back in January because Suzu was sick. And they've been kind of teasing these past couple shows, but ultimately we need to get the Utami Maika match in the ring first before we get this one. And then as they're teasing it, Kagama goes back to being a kleptomaniac and tries to steal one of the tag belts. So like now we're introducing FWC back into the title picture, at least it seems, and I would love to see that because they're great as a team. So there's a lot of interesting things happening. Again, even if Utami is leaving to go to Rossy Vice Wrestling, we're still going to get this probably one-off match with Crazy Star versus Aphrodite, and then somewhere down the line we'll probably get FWC versus Crazy Star. We'll probably get something with EXV, and I wouldn't be disappointed if we throw Wing Gory into the tag title picture mix as well, because they're terrific. And then even if you want to have a really big title defense for Crazy Star, have them wrestle Sai Kamatani and Azumi because they're great as a team as well. So a lot of interesting factors are going into the tag division moving forward. Again, match number 7, I'll touch upon it real quick, partner. I noticed that they did Oedo Tai. They did the waterboard spot. But I noticed when Tora did it, it was Tora pouring the water. She didn't pour it over their face. She kind of poured it on the back of their head. And then I noticed Natsupoi gets in the ring. I don't know if you saw this. Natsupoi gets in the ring and she's 1,000 miles an hour. And then all of a sudden, she's nowhere near as fast as Soriano. Like, she's missing her footing. I'm like, what's going on with Natsupoi? Now I'm getting worried because of all the injuries we've been having in Stardom and Natsupoi just coming back. I'm like, I hope she doesn't blow a knee out. And then you see her wiping her feet. And I'm like, oh, when they did the waterboard spot, instead of doing it in the front like Oedo Tai usually does, Tora did, again, she did it to the back of the head. It rolled off the back. And then you could see in the ring, there was water in the ring to literally the point where they took a little intermission and they wiped down the ring extra good because there was water in there. and Natsupoi just couldn't get her footing, but she never slipped. Once she wiped her feet off, she was back to normal, like back to phenomenal, super fast, high speed, murder pixie Natsupoi. And that's one of the reasons why I like this match, because it was something that could have thrown you off, because you're like, geez, the ring's wet, my feet are wet, my boots are wet. Maybe I'm going to take it easy here so I don't get hurt. But she was just like, okay, I slipped 1 or 2 times. I'm just going to go right back at it. And again, Siriano and Natsupoi as a tag team are so good. The stuff they did in this match was terrific. And the way that they set up Yuna Mizumori and Aya Sakura up for their, Aya Sakurai up for some of the tag stuff, I thought was really, really good. The Cosmic Angels are just, they're firing on all cylinders. And the fact that now they have the 2 rookies, Aya Sakura and Sayaka Kurora, say that 10 times fast, I think, and I've noticed this over the past few shows, partner, that Yuna Mizumori is not taking any more falls. We knew that when Yuna was going to Cosmic Angels, she's going to be, as we call, the pin eater of the group, and she's so good. And again, my most improved wrestler in all of wrestling in 2023. I don't think you're going to be seeing her eat too many pinfalls. And again, she's another one that I would love to see in the 5-star Grand Prix, because I think she's going to come out of it absolutely just a bigger star. And she was well protected in this match. Natsupoi and Sayori set her up for a lot of good stuff. Obviously, Momo Watanabe's great. They did a great job with Rina in this match. And of course, you got Starlight Kid and your favorite, the clown, my man, the clown. But really good stuff. Again, this match had no right for it to be as good as it was. I thought this was going to be kind of a buffer from in between the Giulia Tam match and the finals of the Cinderella Tournament. And this, nobody took any days off. Nobody took a show off on this one, not one wrestler. And it just goes to show you how competitive the roster in the locker room of Stardom was. I had a 3 3/4 stars. Really enjoyed it. Again, Suri, Anu, and Natsupoi as a team, whether it's just the 2 of them or you throw them in any other members of the Cosmic Angels, or it's a very likely possibility that we'll see Sari teaming up with them as we're building up towards Sari and Mayu coming up here probably in April. So yeah, interesting things and a really good match.
Yuna Mizumori is one that we could legitimately see in the 5-star Grand Prix, and she's another one that would benefit massively from those extended singles matches against the likes of, Asaya Kamatani, Hazuki, people like that, playing that Hanan role a couple of years ago, or even the Mariah May role from last year. Giulia versus Tam. One more dance. If you have seen one Giulia and Tam match, you know that these 2 women do not hold back. They did not disappoint with this. 15 minutes of just trying to absolutely level the other one. You've only got to look at the post-match and see the huge hematoma growing on Tam's head to see how much they gave each other. It's as fitting an end to their feud as I can possibly think. I think it was perhaps the weakest of their matches, but that's set, such a high bar that's unsurprising. And ultimately, this is the one with the least story. This is just, one last dance, effectively, isn't it? Let's throw everything at each other. And it's, it's never going to be a bad thing when you've got that, just that headbutt. Oh my God, Matt.
I actually like this match better than their tournament final for the Wonder Belt and then the automatic rematch. And those were really good. Like, if you're asking me to place these, it's probably, honestly, it's so close between the hair versus hair match, the match for the Red Belt from All-Star Grand Queendom, and their final of the 5-star Grand Prix. But this one is underneath it. Again, I liked it better than the 2 matches for the White Belt once Giulia, not the hair versus hair, but to start Giulia's run. But Rob, how else are you going to start this match? You got to start off with stiff slaps in the face, right, to start this? Like, how else are we going to start? You weren't going to start with any headlock takeovers, were you?
I love the fact that they made to shake hands because, of course, this is the only real match that we've had between these 2 where they are openly respectful of each other. They are almost friends. They were supposed to be teaming together if it wasn't for Giulia's illness. So it is quite interesting that they sort of started to go and shake hands and then just leveled each other with slaps. And yeah, it was a bit untidy at times, but all of their matches have been a bit untidy at times. It just plays into the narrative of just wanting to get as much out of them as you possibly can. And I've always liked that about this partnership. It's not always about being pretty. It's not always about the most beautifully wrestled sequences. It's about hurting the other one. And more often than not, that includes being a little bit unorthodox, a little bit untidy. Like there was a moment where Tam tried to hoist Giulia up into, I think it was the violet screwdriver, and sort of couldn't get her up properly. So instead dropped her to the floor and just laid in a load of slaps again. And they aren't like, there was no pulling of these slaps. These were hard slaps, and then hoisted her up for the move. So they turned what could have potentially been a little bit of a sloppy moment into another little story beat. And I like that about these two. You know what you're going to get from these two. Overall, exactly what I wanted as a real sign-off to the Giulia and Tam feud, at least for now, as Giulia departs. But yeah, a really, really, really enjoyable end to this feud. 4.25 stars, Matt.
I actually liked it way more than you had at 4 3/4 stars. But
Wow.
yeah, really good. And I loved it just for the story going towards the end. You mentioned that she tries to put her up for the violent screwdriver, and it just their timing's off, and that happens. The main thing was when Giulia fell, she was protected, she was okay, and then Tam gets on her, goes full mount, and just starts slapping her. I'm like, that kind of adds to it, if you ask me.
That's
because
what
again,
I mean.
they're not
Yeah.
laying. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I liked, and again, I was probably around 4.25, 4.5 as we're getting to the final few minutes. And I figured this would go to a time limit draw. When they were teasing this, I'm like, Tam has to go over, right? And I'm like, I would rather go to a time limit draw because you can run this back somewhere if they're in their 50s or 60s. Like, who cares, right? Just let them stand in the ring and slap each other. Like, run it back. Don't close the book on this feud. I know there were a lot of people that were messaging me, me being the giant Tam Nakano fan I am, was like, oh, Giulia pulled a Hulk Hogan, was like, this doesn't work for me, brother. And I'm like, I highly doubt that. And two, I think this was the best finish for this match to go to the old TLD again, because we're not closing the book on this feud. There's no definite winner. And again, they can run this back somewhere. 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. It's always going to be there. The book is open. The book is shut for now, but there's a bookmarker in it that whenever they're ready to open that back up, it's going to be great. It's going to be entertaining. It's going to draw a lot of money. I liked how as we're building towards the finish, and they've done this before in the past couple matches where they're stealing each other's finishes. Like you have Tam hits this insane Northern Lights bomb that I was like, geez Louise, like I hope Giulia's okay, because that was violent. And then I also liked how Tam on these when she's wrestling a lot of the underneath talent on these quote unquote house shows, she wins a lot of matches with the Tiger Suplex, which she does great. She hits it on Giulia, and Giulia kicks out at 0. Not at 2, not at 1. She kicks out at 0. It was like, oh yeah, that's what you want to do? And then Giulia eventually she hit, and I liked, and again, this is where at this point for me it's 4.5 star territory, and this is why I bumped it up to 4 3/4. As you're hearing the time ticking down, I'm like, okay, we're definitely going to the time limit draw. And then I was kind of pump faked at the end when Tam hit the final violent screwdriver. But Giulia finally gets the Northern Lights bomb that she was trying to hit. She hits the glorious driver, goes for the Northern Lights bomb, hits it, and instead of getting the 3 count, she pulls Tam up. I'm like, you had her beat. I'm like, it's not about winning, because it's not for the Wonder Belt. It's not for the Red Belt. It's not for the winner wins the 5-star Grand Prix, which they have had matches for. It's not a hair versus hair match. It's just to see who could be more violent. So it's not about a 3 count here. And again, we know Giulia, she does a lot of quick roll-ups for pinfalls. None of that was teased here, because that's not what it was about. So she picks her up, and then she tries the Hammerlock Northern Lights bomb, the glorious Northern Lights bomb that she's only hit once on Sherry to win the World of Stardom Championship. And I was like, is that how this is going to finish? Because now I'm sucked in. And I was like, maybe Giulia's going to go over on top. And then that's an incredible story, because nobody saw that. She's like, I'm leaving the company. I'm beating my rival on the way out. If you want to beat me, now you have to chase me. That's what I'm thinking. Ultimately, though, Tam is able to block it. She gets the violent screwdriver, or she hits the Northern Lights bomb, and then the violent screwdriver, which I was like, geez, what a combination that was. And then she pulls Giulia up with like 10 seconds left and was like, no, we're going to go in the middle of the ring, and we're just going to start slapping until whoever the last person standing is. The bell rings, the ref tries to break it up, they push the ref out, and then they start headbutting each other. Then they start headbutting each other. And considering the fact that Tam had that welt on her head probably like 10 minutes in and still wrestled another 5 minutes with that on her head, and the fact that she was able to see, it didn't bother her, I thought that was just that, it was something the headbutt thing, I enjoy if it's safe at a certain thing, but like if you hurt your arm, you can rehab your arm. If you hurt your leg, you can you rehab your leg. Concussions, when you only have one brain, you can't retrain your brain. So it's like I enjoyed the violence. I understand why they did it. I understand why it happened last year in April. Some of it is maybe you'd say it's a little bit too much, but the fact that Tam is able to wrestle the last quarter of that match as well as she did, I mean, perfectly as she did, with the giant hematoma on her head, it just goes to show you just how brutal one Tam Nakano is. And the post match stuff was great as well. So I think Rob, like I probably would have had it 4.5 stars. I think just the pre match stuff and the post match stuff with the post match brawl and then the promo afterwards is kind of the reason why I bumped it up to the 4 3/4 stars.
Yeah, perfectly reasonable. Perfectly reasonable. Let's move on then to the semi-main, which was obviously Hanan defeating Amisori for to become the 2024 Cinderella champion. This is great. Amisori, despite losing, I thought was one of, if not the MVP of this tournament. She didn't have a bad match. She really did come out. And actually, if Mirai is leaving, she really is that heir apparent to Mirai, isn't she? Throws fantastic lariats. I mean, the way she bludgeoned Hanan by just hitting her repeatedly with these lariats while keeping wrist control, absolutely loved it. I thought Hanan played the underdog babyface perfectly. I thought Amisori played the dominant, powerful, muscle-bound sort of dominator really well as well. Ultimately, the perfect Cinderella final, did everything it needed to be. 4 stars, Matt.
Yeah, I actually liked it more than you. I gave it 4 1/4 stars, and I have a little nitpick about this match that I do want to put up. Again, I love how very much Ami from Meisara to Azumi, the apron, the suplex on the apron spot is something that was teased and put there. Ultimately, she needs the like a thunderbolt to defeat Azumi. They build it, and if you remember, Ami ended Hanan's future Stardom Championship reign with a like a thunderbolt. So again, Stardom rewarding you if you're a long-term fan, and if you're just a fan of just what happened an hour ago, because she hits this move onto Hanan, same move she used to beat Azumi, and I was like, as soon as she hits it, I'm like, it's a very well protected finish. I don't think many, if anybody, has kicked out of this. If it's going to kick out here, this is the perfect time to do it. But I was like, I would have bought more on the finish, except she hits the like a thunderbolt after that was a perfectly wrestled match. As soon as she gets on her for the cover, the ref doesn't even count 0. Hanan, with her eyes wide open, is staring at the ref, waiting to know when to kick out. I was like, oh, it took me out of it. I would have bit more on the falsy, had Hanan kind of laid there with her eyes closed, listened to the cadence of the count, and kind of kicked out last second. Like, Tam is great at it. Hazuki's great at it. Obviously, Mayu's great at it. I always say Chris Jericho is the best ever at, like, after getting hit with the big move or getting rolled up, not looking at the ref and kicking out the last possible second to get the crowd to bite on a falsy. But Hanan isn't the only one I'm going to scold on this one, because not too long after, Hanan rolls up Ami with the like 17 roll up. Again, the move she used to beat Ruaka earlier on this show. And as soon as the ref counts to 1, where's Amisori's face in her eyes, staring right at the ref? I was like, oh, I would have bit on that falsy too. Again, it's something so small that I noticed that I would have bit bigger on it. And then I knew the finish was coming when Hanan used the wrist clutch back driver. One, it's the perfect time to finish the match because you're literally at the crescendo of the match. She used it to beat Mirai, who's won this tournament 2 years in a row. And then as soon as she hit it and the ref counted to 1, Amisori's eyes were closed. She was nowhere to be found, which is where she kind of maybe should have been for some of those other falsies. Regardless, that was just kind of a nitpicky thing that I think it would have made the match better for me. Again, 4 1/4 stars. Not only does Hanan win the tournament, folks, my good friend and the author of the book, Living the Dream and Chasing the Dream, Rob Goodwin, gets a prediction winner right. And I kind of just want to put myself over just for a second, partner, because it is you that has all the glory because you did pick Hanan to win. I did have Azumi and Amisori in my final 4. So collectively, the Stardom cast, me and you, who are always consistently bad at picking this tournament, but at least we're consistent. You had the overall winner right. You had one of the final 4 winners in there, obviously Hanan, and I had 2 of the final 4 winners in there. So as a team, my man, we did pretty good. So now unfortunately for 2025, we set the bar a little bit too high for ourselves.
Maybe just a little bit. Maybe just a little bit. And finally, my friend, the red belt match. Maika versus Utami Hayashishita in what is touted by many to be Utami's swan song. Maika retains, but what a match. Utterly brutal. We talk about how people throw everything they can at each other. You look at Tam versus Giulia in 15 minutes. These two women, by the end of this match, were exhausted, weren't they?
Yeah, this was great, and they had a great lockup to start, and I always put up a great lockup. It was like you're on this long show where the crowd is kind of not into it. Again, maybe they were mic'd wrong. Again, it was a full sellout, so you might be right. But I was like, oh, this is the last match that you're going to see, and they start with a great lockup, so it kind of makes you that these two are going to go at it. And boy, howdy, they went at it. And I think you texted me as I was watching this in the middle of it. I know you weren't watching it live, and I was like, man, this show's great, and Mike and Utami are killing each other. And then Rob gave me a hot take, and he said that, oh, by the way, Utami is really, really good. So that was great, man. Yeah. I'm glad I'm glad that you well educated me on that. And also, I think it is written in Utami's contract that anytime she wrestles Shuri for the championship, that they have to do the air raid crash spot on the apron. Mm-hmm. And anytime she's in a big match in a Cinderella final, she has to have like one of the greatest women matches of the year, because she had the one with Sherry 3 years prior and had this one. This was great. You can make an easy argument. This is Maika's best match. I still like the Sai Kamatani Wonder match a little bit better, but I think this is Maika's best performance. I think if we didn't solidify her as a main eventer, constant main eventer after defeating Suzu for the red belt, after defeating Sai Kamatani for her V1, she's here. She is here because obviously Utami has been a huge star from Stardom, even from a rookie year. I mean, we talk about it quite a bit. Ever since she came into Stardom in 2018, she was thrust for big things. She had a year-plus run with the World of Stardom Championship, is one half of the Goddess of Stardom Champions. Obviously, Utami is a big star, and for these two to go out there and put on that kind of match. And I've seen every one, and I kind of want to throw this question at you, and I think I might be right on this one. I've seen every one of Maika's matches since I started watching Stardom religiously in the beginning of pretty much the first quarter of 2021. I've never seen her do the superplex twice in one match. She did the one here where she always usually does the one where she's on the middle rope. And the reason why she does it on the middle, not the top, because she does the stalling one, like the C.W. Anderson one, the stalling one. You need that top rope to kind of balance you. She does that into the two Harley Race style suplexes afterwards. But then as this match is building, she goes all the way to the top rope and hits another superplex. And I was like, I know Mike always busts out the superplex, the stalling one, and the big matches. But partner, has she ever done two superplexes in one match?
I don't know. That's a very good question. I got distracted by her using Himika's running powerbomb, I'll be perfectly honest. I didn't even remember that she did it twice. I thought she only done it once.
Yeah, she did it. She did it twice. I think she hit, like I said, she hit the one a little earlier on in the match, and I was like, I kind of figured this was going to go along. I think it was going to go 29-41. But I was like, oh, it's kind of early for her hitting that. Now I know why, because then she built up to the second. It was after Utami German suplexed her into the turnbuckle. Jeez, howdy, that was something. Then they're on the outside, just trading forearms, trading. I love how they're on the outside, like 4 or 5 minutes of this match, and let's keep running at each other with lariats for 19 seconds so we don't get counted out. But to see who budges first, and nobody did. And again, even though Utami, this might be her last big main event in Stardom, the fact that she gave this effort she did to crown Maika and send Maika further up the ladder than she already is. The fact that it took all those Michinoku drivers. I mean, she had to hit, and not only that, but there was a great, and they did kind of harken back on everybody staring at the ref to get out of falls. Utami is bombing Maika with just a couple minutes left, and she goes for the hijack bomb, and she's doing the 360 the same way she did with Mayu almost 4 years earlier, when she won the belt. And Maika doesn't look like she's getting out of it. And I'm thinking in my head for a split second, maybe this year they said, hey, Utami, we know you're going to want to go to Rossy's company. We should peg you as our future. We're going to put the red belt on you, because that's what I think everybody thought was going to happen last year. She's going to win the 5-star and ultimately become one of the only few wrestlers to win the red belt twice. So there was a good second and a half when she had her up for the hijack bomb and she was twirling her. But I was like, you're going to put the belt on Utami and she's going to stay. I was like, No, that'd be good for everybody, really. I mean, other than Rossy's company, because I was so sucked in. Going to this match, I'm like, Maika's gonna win, but the way that built, especially that hijack bomb, it's like, oh my! I think they're gonna put the belt on Utami. Eventually, Maika gets out. She got out twice. Once she hits a 360 lariat. The other time she punches Utami right in the throat. Ultimately, it took a 360 lariat, a Michinoku driver, and then the wrist clutch Michinoku driver version to finish this one off. Other than Mayu versus Shuri from the beginning of the year, this is my favorite Stardom match of the year. This is my second favorite Stardom match of the year. This is the perfect 5 stars for me and a match that everybody needs to see.
Completely agree. Completely agree. I gave it 4.5. I knew you'd like it. I knew you'd love it. Fantastic match. Like, these two go from strength to strength whenever they wrestle, and their matches have got periodically better. One of the most underrated matches of the 2021 5-Star Grand Prix, an underrated red belt challenge for Maika against Utami back in Tokyo Super Wars and at the 10th anniversary show. They're a very, very good partnership, and they just seem to work. I'm really glad that if this is Utami's bow out of Stardom, I'm really, really glad that it was against Maika, someone who she's put on some absolute wars with. The only way it could have been more perfect, really, I think, were it to be against Fury. But I feel like that's a very, very small nitpick. Obviously, following this, Momo Watanabe makes her challenge for the red belt. But before we get Maika versus Momo, Maika calls out her Divine Kingdom tag partner, Megan Bayne. And not only does she challenge Megan Bayne to challenge her for the red belt, yeah, that makes sense, they've actually made it official for Stardom's Philadelphia show. So Matt Turner, not only do we have our first match confirmed for Philly Mania, but it's only a bloody red belt match. Maika versus Megan Bayne in the ECW arena. I am excited.
Now, this is official for the red belt, right? Because I was trying to get some of the translations through some of the people translating on Twitter that she challenged her, but this is for the world belt.
As far as I am aware, yes. According to Tokyo Sports, yes.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's going to be an absolute banger. Again, I don't foresee Megan Bayne walking out of the ECW arena with the red belt, but we know Megan Bayne, when she first came into Stardom, and obviously we talked about it, looked like she was just somebody they were going to build up to just put Tam over and then be back on her way to the States. That didn't happen, and that was the best thing for everybody, especially for us Stardom fans, as she became a legit main eventer and had great matches, not only teaming with Megan Bayne, but had great matches with Giulia and Maika versus Megan Bayne in the ECW arena, where, no disrespect to the fine crowd over here, but that ECW arena, folks, let me tell you, Philadelphia fans, especially in that building, they're going to be rocking for this entire show, especially Maika versus Megan Bayne, because obviously Megan Bayne is going to be able to translate a lot of stuff over to the American crowd because she speaks the language, and Maika is absolutely fantastic. So that is going to be hard hitting, and maybe we'll see the double superplexes in that match as well. What a sight that would be for Maika to do with the bigger Megan Bayne. So. Yeah, excited for that one. And I think this, again, that's the only match that we have announced with the show 2 weeks away. I would imagine that by this time next week, we'll have more of a full card announced. But the fact that we're getting a World of Stardom Championship match, because we didn't get one back 5 years ago. We just got that terrific Wonder match with Utami and Momo. But yeah, exciting things. And Utami has a lot. Not Utami, excuse me. They're doing a great job with Maika in this reign, because we know we're getting the Momo match coming down the line. We know we're getting the Tam match somewhere down the line. You easily can heat Suzuki back up because they're 1-1 in their matches, between the 5-star final and the World of Stardom Championship match from Dream Queendom. So it won't take much to have Maika going into the 5-star Grand Prix with 5, 6, or 7 successful title defenses. So really good booking on Stardom, because that's what you want to do when you have your top champion. You want to have more than one person ready to go, and it really seems like they have ready-made 3 people ready to go coming off this 5-star classic match she had with Utami.
Just before we get into EO and Kairi Watch, I just want to say that currently Stardom have 2 shows scheduled for this weekend, the 23rd in Nara and the 24th in Kyoto in the beautiful, as I said before, KBS Hall. Currently, there is no card announced for those two shows. So those two shows will be talked about next week, as well as hopefully a preview of Stardom American Dream, should the card have dropped by then. But currently, there is no cards announced for the show in Nara on the 23rd and the show in Kyoto on the 24th. So keep your eyes peeled for match announcements for those. Matt, if you could do your Io and Kairi watch very quickly. I've got a little bit of a nugget of news that's just dropped, because for once, the news has dropped while we're actually starting recording, so that I can add it to this.
Well, that worked out really well because we were about an hour later than a day and an hour late normally recording. So the wrestling gods bless us. I will do Io and Kairi watch very fast because there's not much to talk about. There's a backstage promo that's building up Dakota Kai versus Bayley that happened to actually be in the main event, the final slot of this week's SmackDown match. The match starts and Bayley is a house of fire. Obviously, Io, Kairi, and Asuka are on the outside. It looks like that they're going to be doing some interference on Bayley. As soon as the match starts, Bayley just starts whipping away at Dakota Kai. It's like 3 or 4 minutes of shine. I mean, she's really beating up on Dakota, and the crowd is really behind Bayley. Like the crowd, it's just, they weren't sure really how to take Bayley on kind of this new role of her being back as a babyface again, and a much different babyface now than she was a handful of years ago. But the crowd is red hot for Bayley. Eventually, there's a little bit of interference that leads to Dakota Kai getting about a minute of offense. It doesn't last long as Bayley goes right back on beating Dakota Kai, and Io Shirai says, "We've seen enough." They jump into the ring, probably like 6-7 minutes into this match, causing the disqualification. Naomi comes out to try to help down the 4-on-1 beatdown. She gets a little bit of offense in, but eventually it's Kairi and Asuka that beat down Naomi. And then Kairi and Dakota Kai pick up Bayley, like almost like a foot and a half off the ground. And Io hits a moonsault on the Bayley as she's kind of levitating in the air, which is a really, really cool scene. And it ends with, we go off air, rolling credits, if you will, with Io Shirai holding the belt up over Bayley's head. So it's nice that we're finally, it was cooled down a little bit, the build up for WrestleMania, but we had a nice little build up here. Again, really not much to the match because the whole angle was just to more heat onto Damage Control and more sympathetic babyface love towards Bayley as we get to WrestleMania. So that was it for Io and Kairi watch, my man.
Excellent. So that little nugget of news that's dropped at the right time for once is that an article in Tokyo Sports has listed the 5 women that are leaving Stardom to go to Rossy Vice Wrestling. Not a lot that we haven't already speculated on. They've confirmed Giulia, they've confirmed Utami, they've confirmed Mirai, they've confirmed Mai Sakurai, and 5th, and perhaps most surprisingly, they've confirmed Yuzuki is leaving the promotion to go to Rossy Vice Wrestling. So, Matt, we knew about Giulia, we knew about Utami, we'd surmised as much about Mai Sakurai and Mirai, but Yuzuki, having only debuted last year, that's a bit of a bolt from the blue.
Especially the fact that her whole thing was to stay with Mayu. And regardless of what Mayu wants to do, originally we thought she wanted to leave. It looks like she's having the time of her life now, but she's going to be staying in Stardom, I think, until the end of the year, and then they'll figure out the contract. But the fact that she's leaving, and I was kind of wondering about the rookies, but I mean, they have to be on some sort of rookie contract or a different deal, or maybe they're just paid per month. I don't know how that works, but that is pretty weird. But it does seem like that Rossy's stacking towards the future. Not that Utami's 80 years old. She's very young in her right as well, but
25.
Yeah, very. Oh, Tommy's only 25.
Yep.
Oh, jeepers! Wow, wow, yeah. That is interesting, my friend. That yeah, we kind of did know the 4, so I wonder who the 5th one was, and the fact that it's rookie Yuzuki. So I wonder if she'll have to turn in her jacket to Stars on her way out.
Imagine that's her final show. Imagine that's like a Korakuen, and it's just the ceremonial handing over of a homemade hoodie. That'd be so upsetting. But yeah, you're right. I mean, like, yes, potentially the only, inverted commas, superstar or main event star that Stardom are losing is Utami, maybe Mirai. I'm not counting Giulia at the moment because we don't know how long she's going to be in Rossy Vice Wrestling. But Yuzuki, she's 18 years old. She debuted last year and hasn't looked at any point like a rookie. So this could be a huge, huge get for Rossy Vice Wrestling. A huge get, because her upside is phenomenal. And in a promotion where there is significantly less traffic to navigate to get to that main event, it could be massive for her development as well. We could see her in title matches in the next 18 months quite easily.
Absolutely.
Matt.
Yeah, maybe by the end of the year. Maybe by the end of the year, depending on how many championships they have. Yeah, very interesting, my friend. Very interesting. But I know we're running long. I know you have stuff to do and I have stuff to do. Real quick, jumping back into the Cinderella Tournament.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of the Hanan with the dress, the whole nine, that at the end?
It was perfect. I don't think they've done a Cinderella sort of crowning ceremony where the winner hasn't looked fantastic. I think Hanan, it's as simple as it being that castle backdrop that they had throughout the show on the big LED screen. That worked really well. Hanan's very obvious joy was very endearing. The fact that we have crowned, a new sort of future icon of Stardom here, it does very much feel like a big coming out moment, this victory. And I think everything felt perfect. We had two with Mirai where, she came out in the dress and that feels right. Same with Saya Kamatani. And I think with Hanan, it feels right. She looked the part. She felt the part. And unlike last year where I felt like we missed an opportunity with having Mirai win the tournament back-to-back, no disrespect to Mirai at all, I felt there were other people that could have benefited from that tournament victory in 2023. Hanan here, for me, was the perfect choice to win this tournament. And, you asked me for my 3 top matches just before we sign off. Hanan's in 2 of them. I mean, my third favourite was Ami and Hanan, the final. Second was Azumi versus Ami, the semi-final. And then my number 1 favourite was Hanan versus Mirai. I thought that was absolutely sensational. Some really, really, really good matches. And, yeah, you're absolutely right. I thought Hanan looked brilliant in the dress, felt the part, looked the part. What about you?
Yeah, I thought I got a little... again, I was pulling for Hazuki and Azumi, but obviously I've mentioned if Hanan won, I would be absolutely thrilled for her. But you can just see the emotion came over her. I started getting a little emotional, and then they go to Mirai, and she's just in puddles. She's just in puddles because she's literally giving the crown of Cinderella winner. She won it the 2 years prior. She put over Hanan. And again, that was my favorite match of the tournament. She puts over Hanan cleanly, right in the middle of a loud chorus and all. And then it just goes to show you just how unselfish a lot of these girls in Stardom are. The fact that she's so happy for Hanan. That even though Hanan is the one that is crying in the ring, they go to Mirai and she's 10 times as worse. 10 times as worse. And I was just like, it got a lot of people. I saw a lot of people on social media saying they got choked up on that. And and I think the whole story, especially with the cheating Ruaka, added to it. Again, it was a perfectly booked tournament. As far as matches go, again, number 1 for me was Hanan versus Mirai. Number 2 was Starlight Kid versus Suzuki. I really, really like that. And number 3 was Azumi versus Ami Sourei. So as usual, my man, out of the 3 matches, we had 2 out of the 3.
Yeah, absolutely. And ladies and gentlemen, that just about rounds off this monumental episode of the Stardom Cast. We have gone far longer than I thought we were going to, but there we are. We hope you enjoy the content. Thank you to everyone that has tuned in, that has sat through the near 3-hour Leviathan-like podcast we've just recorded. Again, next week we will be talking about the shows in Nara and in Kyoto, as well as previewing the shows in Sendai, Yamagata, and then, of course, the big pay-per-view on the 4th of April, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And, of course, it is going to be live on Fight TV, $24.99.
3 p.m.
It is going to be live at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't tune in at 4. You'll have missed some matches. 3 p.m. Thank God I'm with you, Matt. Jesus Christ. I'd have turned up on the 6th or something, going, "Where is everyone?"
I'm just gonna treat you like Lily and just be like, okay, we're gonna be on time for this, right? Oh my, you'll be my Lily.
No. Don't treat me like Lily. Treat me like someone younger than Lily. Otherwise, we won't get anywhere.
That's legal to drink. That's legal to drink.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already, consider subscribing to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. If you haven't signed up to our Patreon, you can. Patreon.com/The Stardomcast. Thank you to all of our fantastic patrons. You're all absolutely phenomenal, and we could not do this without your support. If you don't want to sign up to our Patreon, that is absolutely understandable. However, a 5-star review and a comment goes a long way to helping us be exposed to more people. Social media, we are everywhere at the Stardomcast. You can check out our YouTube channel as well. Don't forget to check out our merch store. Don't forget that we are hosting the unofficial after show party following the Stardom show in Philadelphia. Jack's Steaks Taproom, or Jack's Taproom Steaks, can never remember the way around it goes. Now, Matt, that's at 7:00 Eastern Standard Time, isn't it?
Independent wrestling time, which may mean it may start earlier, it may start later, but yeah, right around 7:00.
Okay, just double checking, and that is definitely the 4th, isn't it?
That's right after the show, yes.
Just checking, man.
And this year, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on this Earth, right? And Earth 616, Marvel 616, yes.
2024, yeah, brilliant. Just clarifying.
I'll remind you in an hour.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. If you could remind me when my flight is, I'd appreciate that as well.
You better send that information over to Amber. She'll get you all situated.
That's a very good plan. I shall do that. Say that again. I didn't even realize Kirsty had come in. Kirsty just said he thinks you're joking.
have your people get a hold of my people, and I'll pick you up at the airport.
Kirsty, he says, get your people to contact his people, and we'll pick you up at the airport. Like a minder service.
Oh, I love her.
We're still
the best time.
We're still live, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, you can talk to me on Twitter at RealRobGoodwin. Don't forget, Chasing the Dream is available on every Amazon platform. Wherever you get your Amazoning, you can get the Chasing the Dream book. Matt, for God's sake, sign us off, good sir.
Absolutely. Well, I know Rob just plugged it. I'll plug it. Don't forget to go to Amazon.com and buy yourself Chasing the Dream, 50 of Stardom's Greatest Matches by my good friend Rob Goodwin. Yes, we are going to be at Jack's Tap Room for the after party. I did about an hour before we were recording, did hear from my buddy Norm, the owner of Funk Brewing, that there will be 10 cases of the limited edition Stardom Cast beer that will be there. So there will be 10 cases available. We're expecting it to sell out that day, or that night, or at least for the weekend. If you cannot be there at the show and you want it's coming in 6-packs. If you want a 6-pack or a case, send me a message, and we will try to figure out how to get you. Now, we cannot ship alcohol outside of the United States of America. I learned that the hard way. I can't even ship an empty beer can because I tried to ship to Steve in Canada, and they said no. Anywho, so if you want to know how to get a hold of me, if you want a 6-pack of the Stardom Cast beer, message me, Matt Turner OF, on the Instagram and or the Twitter. If social media is not your thing, shoot me an email, thestardomcast22@gmail.com. It's the best way to get a hold of me, via email. Folks, that'll end a phenomenal long episode that I had an absolute blast. We greatly appreciate your support. Like I always say, can't do this without you, because it's just not my podcast. It's our podcast, because we're all together and everybody's different. Everybody's special.